Okay, and we are live. Welcome everyone to a live stream from myself on this beautiful Saturday morning. I hope that all of you had a great Valentine's Day yesterday. And thank you so much for joining me on this day, like I said before. First things first, I see people are already here in the chat. As usual, the first thing I want to confirm is that everyone can see me and hear me correctly. So if you can drop that down and let me know, that would be awesome. We've got Dong Kim here in the chat. Good to see you, buddy. Hopefully having a good Saturday. My good friend Dalton is here as well, who says, good morning, Stan. Good morning to you, Dalton. I know you're a big fan of the channel, so thank you so much for your support as always. And we also have Mr. Ian Maskell, who drops us a $10 spot. Thank you so much, bro. I love that. You do have a question, though, so we'll start with that right away. What is your next big redemption? If nothing planned, what's the current dream destination? Also, how's your point balance now that it's been a few months since the honeymoon? So I will answer that right away. So we would love to go back to Thailand. So one of the things that we kind of not missed out, but we wanted to change about our honeymoon trip was that we went to a lot of destinations in a short period of time. So we did Tokyo for 5 days, we did Phuket for 2 days, and then we did Bangkok for 4 days. We'd like to just go to Thailand since that's where both our families are from, and we just want to stay there for as long as we can, maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks. That would be ideal for us. So we could really explore the country and really get a feel for what it's like to live there. You know, not from the local standpoint, but just, you know, as a tourist standpoint. And so that I think is going to be our next move. In terms of the points balances, I do go over this a little bit later down in the presentation, but I do have approximately 400,000 MRs and 400,000 URs and 400,000 URs with my wife. So we have a healthy amount of points to do this next booking. But after we do this booking, then we'll be kind of depleted, and they'll have to figure out ways to get more points to get those international first and business class travel tickets. So that's where I'm at. And so I think that that's what we'll plan on doing. So I appreciate the question, Ian, as well as the super chat. Michael Yip is here. Michael, I got your question on the community post, and we will cover that momentarily a little bit farther down in the presentation, but don't worry, we'll be there for that. And then we also have everyone saying, sounds good. Ian says, sounds good. Vincent, good to see you, my friend. Happy Saturday. Hear loud and clear. Awesome. Looks good. Luke Johnson is here. Nice to meet you. I don't think I've ever seen your name before, but you sound good. Great. Okay, so Ed Zhao has a question. Are you familiar with B of A, Wells, and US Bank business card approvals? I personally don't have any personal experience with Wells Fargo or with US Bank, but what I will say that I have a Bank of America business card. It's about the same as what you'd expect with Bank of America. They hard pull you once. There's nothing on your credit report in terms of that new account. And I believe the same is true for Wells Fargo and US Bank. You do not need a checking account with them or for how long. It obviously is going to help if you do. That way you get all that paperwork out of the way. If you need to, set up your LLC or you need to have some establishment with them, that helps. But you don't necessarily need to have that for them, from what I understand. Okay, so you're looking for some spacers between Chase apps. Yeah, I think that's fine. The issue is that all three of them, those business cards, when you apply for them, they will hard pull your credit report, and so that will be a problem. And then, but I guess the new accounts wouldn't apply in terms of they wouldn't add to your credit score or credit report, so that would keep your Chase 524 status intact. Dalton says he's got approved Tuesday for the Venture 1 with a $35K offer for $500 spend within 3 months. It's very nice. That's a very good offer. I know it's a little bit less, but in terms of minimum spend, but that's very awesome. And it's a great card to have. And I don't know if you can upgrade that to Venture X. I'm pretty sure it's a possibility, but it's good that you have this card and definitely can now access that and access those Capital One transfer partners. Brock Anderson in the house. Welcome, Brock. 1,000 credit limit though, typical Capital One. Yeah, 1,000 is a little bit low, but hopefully you'll be able to apply for different cards and have a more higher limit on those ones after that. Tai Hung is here. I'm saying your name right, Mr. Tai. What's the rule for the Citi Startup Premier? I recently got denied with an 800 plus. I have 2 Citi cards. Citi is one of those banks where you just don't really have a lot of, you can't really predict what they're going to do. Cities like that, Capital One's like that. It doesn't matter how good or I guess bad your credit score is. You can be approved or denied either way. And so you just have to shoot your shot and see what happens. That's kind of what I would say with that. Unfortunately, there's also timing, how recently you've applied for other cards, what your hard pulls look like in total, what your total 12-month total is on your credit report. There's all these factors, but there's really no, I would say, set criteria on how to figure out if the Strata Premier would be approved or not based on any of those factors. Ian says, thanks for the answer. Highly suspect Chiang Mai during Songkran. It's a little wild, but it's a once in a lifetime. Okay, thank you for the recommendation. I didn't know about that. I don't know. My wife and I are a little less of party goers at this point, but we're always happy to see these new things that we never experienced. So we'll take a look at it, see if that's an idea. Chiang Mai is on the list, and definitely something that we would like to do. Although both our families are from southern Thailand, actually, so we don't get up to Chiang Mai that often, but that would be definitely a place to visit because I hear their food is fantastic. So T. Sanderson says, rate the setup: 2 Citi Custom Cash, Strata Premier, Venture X, and a Rewards Plus. I'm trying to get good entertainment card next. Likely Saver or a Tune autograph. P.S. I like Citi's transfer partners and the preferred hotels. So if you like Citi, I would just say stick with Citi. You have the Strata Premier and 2 Citi Custom Cashes, so you have double coverage on 2 5X categories with a good main card, which is the Strata Premier, to unlock those transfer partners. And then you also have Rewards Plus to make those redemptions even better, which is great. The Venture X is good because you have that catch-all category, and you also want entertainment. So if you have a Venture X and you have Capital One, I would say just go for the Capital One Saver card. I mean, that's got a great entertainment category. I think it's 3X back. I think it's 3X, and I don't remember if it's 8X back. I thought maybe the Saver One card when it was there before, but I know it has a 3X category for entertainment, and that way you have 2 issuers in your main setup, and that keeps it very simple, but you still get those points from those categories that you're looking for. So I would say just stick with Capital One. I wouldn't have to bother going to Wells Fargo unless you really felt the need to. You already have the Premier, so you don't need the autograph unless you really want to get into those Wells Fargo transfer partners, which are still not, in my opinion, not as good as the Citi card. So that's what I'd recommend. Jordan Cullison says, what airline cards do you have, if any, and opinion on Delta Business Gold with $150 Delta Stays credit versus Delta Platinum? So for me specifically, I only have 2 types. I have the United Gateway, and I have this Chase Southwest Priority and the Southwest Performance Business. So the United Gateway was because I used to have an Explorer card when I used to fly cross country a lot between Boston and LA. I no longer do that because I live in Southern California. So now I downgraded that card to a Gateway because it wasn't really something I was using anymore. The Southwest cards are what I typically use because I fly. I don't use them for spending at all, but what I did do was I used the combination of the 2 of them to get Companion Pass last month. So now I have Companion Pass for myself, my wife, all the way up to 2026. And as of right now, I think we have 20 flights booked with Companion Pass. So I think we're already getting immense value from that card. And that's only for the first 6 months or so of this year. So we have a lot going on with Southwest. I think for us, it's going to be just a fantastic card. The Southwest cards will change sometime this year because Southwest, it looks like on the website, they say they're opening up their 2026 calendar in March of this year. So that means we're going to start seeing selected seats on Southwest. And so they also mentioned they're going to change their credit card product sometime this year to reflect that, because a lot of things on their cards now won't necessarily apply to when they have assigned seating. And so I'm interested to see what the changes are in the Priority and the Performance Business cards so I can see if I want to keep them long-term or not. My gut says no, but if they do something really outstanding, then maybe I'll keep it around, at least one or the other. In terms of the Delta cards, I don't really have a lot of experience with a lot of them because I don't fly Delta at all. I would say the Business Gold is a better deal than the regular Gold or the Personal Gold because you do get a higher Delta Stays credit. And I think they're both the same annual fee. And they're both like a first year no annual fee situation. So that's a good thing to do to get that positive value at the very beginning when you first apply for the card. You also have the Delta Platinum, which also is great for that annual certificate. I think that annual fee is $350, but I don't necessarily have an opinion on either one because I don't fly Delta. I would just say the Gold, if you're just a casual flyer for Delta, that would be the better option because you get immediate value right away with the Delta Stays plus the no annual fee for the first year. Luke Johnson says, Stan, I'm a long-time watcher or replay. I always appreciate your credit card input. Well, thank you, Luke. I hope that I'm giving you a lot of value. And on that note, if you are getting value from my content, I really would appreciate if you would hit the like button. We already had a lot of good questions and answers so far, and we have a lot more coming up. But I want to make sure that we can hit that like button to help me with this video so people can see it and get more value from it. Okay, so where are we? Filmo is in the house. Hey, Filmo. Hey, Stan, I haven't applied for a new card in weeks. Oh, my goodness. Are you starting to shake? Yeah, you're probably having those withdrawal symptoms. Oh, man, Filmo. So backstory, Filmo is a guy that does welcome offers back to back to back to back to back. He says he never has a core setup because he only does welcome offers. And that is great because it takes a special person to do that because that's not something I could do. But he does it, and he does it very well. So I think it's really awesome that you're trying to figure out if that's still the right move for you at this point. You're trying to garden for a bit. I love that. Yeah, channeling my inner credit frog. I love that. I think that's great. I'm not saying at all, by the way, that applying for welcome offers back to back to back is wrong. I would just say that it is something that it requires a certain skill set, and it requires a lot of attention to detail with applying for cards and making sure everything is good. I think it really takes out a load off of stress when you start to think about if you have a core setup to fall back on. That may be your next move, Phil. Well, figure it out. After you get those withdrawal symptoms out of the way and you kind of go to that first part of it and you start to level out, just see how that feels for you when you're not really looking for a welcome offer. I think you're going to find that it's going to be kind of a freeing experience. So you let me know how that goes, okay? Ian Mascal says he's not a party person either, but seeing one day of the Buddhist New Year celebration in Chiang Mai is crazy. World's largest water gun fight. That sounds pretty awesome. I got to check that out. So thank you again for the recommendation, Ian. M2K is here. M2K says, what's the best way to earn a lot of Hilton points? Well, I mean, this one way to say it is welcome offers. Wait for an elevated welcome offer from American Express and apply for that at that time. There are two types of welcome offers. There's one with points only, and there's ones with points plus free night rewards. I personally like the ones with free night rewards because they're uncapped and they can get you a lot of value, even if they're not points-based, because you don't need to worry about the points number. You just have to get a good enough redemption that would kind of make that worth it to you. That's the best way. The next way I would say is to buy points. And so Hilton has a great program where you actually have a chance to buy at a 100% point sale. So instead of, I think the maximum right now is 240,000 points. So if you have 100% sale, that's $2,400 for 480,000 points. And so that's very decent. And I know it's a lot of money. It's not for everybody, but you're buying it at 0.5 cents per point. So as long as you do the math and you look at a Hilton hotel redemption and it's more than 0.5 cents per point, you are getting a discount. It's not free like you would with a welcome offer per se, but I think if you want to get a lot of points very quickly, that would be another way to go. Obviously, you can also transfer Amex MR points to Hilton with that 1-to-2 ratio. Hopefully, we will see at some point a transfer bonus with a better ratio than that, like 2.5 or something, but I haven't seen that in a while. But that is another thing to think about. I think that's fine for situations where you're short like 10,000, 20,000 points. You just go ahead and just transfer your MR points over. It's not a big deal. That would be a way to do it too. Okay. Steven Graziano says, rate the setup. US Bank Smartly, Connect, Chase Sapphire Preferred, Freedom Flex, Amex Gold, Delta Platinum. Okay, so that's a lot of cards. So you have the US Bank cards, the Chase cards, and you have an Amex Gold and Platinum. So when I look at this, I always do three things. I'll cover this also when we get to our presentation. We have specialty cards, which are the cards you get for basically those 5x and 4x multipliers. The main card, which is going to be that main card that gets most categories, and you have the catch-all credit card. So US Bank Smartly, that's a catch-all credit card. Connect would be, I would say, 4x on travel, so that's going to be your specialty card. Sapphire Preferred is a main card. That's a 3x points back on your dining, as well as I think 2x on travel, but you already have travel on the Connect, so that's covered. Freedom Flex 5x, that specialty card. Amex Gold is going to be that specialty card, and Delta Platinum is some of the benefits card. The Delta Platinum is not a card you use to spend because the reason why you have it is for those companion certificates, as well as the first or second free check bag. I can't remember. So I think that's actually a really good thing. You have all the major categories covered. I would say one thing that you don't have is gas because it's just not there. You have the Freedom Flex for 3 months at a time. You may have a 5x gas category, so that would be one spot I would look for. I'm not sure what your gas spending is going to be, but that would be, again, a point of a place for you to get that covered. So again, that's kind of what I would think initially from that setup. T. Sanderson says, best airline partners to travel to Japan. Okay, so I just went to Japan for my honeymoon, and I went to Tokyo from LA. I flew on Singapore and Japan Airlines. Those are two fantastic airlines to choose. I think I did prefer Singapore a little bit more, only because I did fly first class, which was a phenomenal experience. So if you haven't seen my honeymoon redemption trip video, definitely check that out. I have more information about that. I know ANA is also a popular choice. I believe it's harder to figure out how to do those redemptions because there's a lot of waitlist availability on ANA, but I'm not the best person to ask about redemption specifically. I would say that for me, the easiest redemptions was Singapore, and then I redeemed Japan Airlines through Cathay Pacific, and that was the best way for me to go. Oh, here we go. I'm considering Cathay. Excellent. So that's a great way to go. I would say look for Cathay transfer partner to Japan Airlines. I think that's a really great way to go, and you can get a really good discount on your redemption if you do it that way. Frugal Dad Finance says, Stan the Man, good morning. Good morning to you, Mr. Frugal Dad Finance. I'm happy to see you here, and thanks for being such a proud supporter of the channel. Ian says, being such a big Southwest person, are you looking forward to assigned seating? You know, I think it's, for me, it's plus or minus. My flights on Southwest are typically about an hour long, so it really doesn't matter to me if it's assigned seating or not. I will say that the pre-boarding situation has gotten worse over time, and so I don't know the reasons why people have pre-boarding, but there's a lot more people pre-boarding that I'm not sure if they need that or not. I'll just leave it at there. So even when I'm boarding, and I usually board between A15 and 25 as an A-list preferred. So I'm pretty close to the front, but over the course of the past year or so, I've moved from like, row 3 to like row 6, and sometimes I'm in row 9 now because there's so many pre-boarders. I don't know if that is, I think that's kind of the big contention here with Southwest and the assigned seating. So I personally am looking forward to it. I think it'll be interesting to see how it's been implemented. As A-list preferred, I will get to choose a front of the seat a seat in the front of the plane anyways. So that is fine for me. But again, I think it's going to be interesting how they implement it and how they're going to make that boarding process different moving forward. Casey Wynn is here. Good morning, Casey. Hey, Stan, is the Ritz-Carlton incidental credit easy to use in terms of ways Amex Platinum users have found ways to get value out of the Platinum's incidental credit? The answer is yes. The ways that I redeem the credit with American Express, specifically with Southwest, has been very good too with the Ritz-Carlton card. What's nice is all you have to do is, do what you need to do. Call Ritz-Carlton customer service and say, I'd like to use my travel credit. These are the purchases I used, and they will remove them for you. I'll leave it at that, but that's kind of how I've been doing it, and I've been doing it for many years, and it's been great so far. So Luca Legends here. What's the annual income number range you should put on your application regardless of how much you make? So, that's a good question, both for personal and for business spend. I would say for personal, I would gravitate towards always telling the truth, because you want to be sure that if they audit you, that you can back your claim up with data and you're not in a position where you've lied. Right? I think telling the truth is always going to be the best way to go. So if your household income is so much, it's so much. Remember though, it's household income. So that's you plus your spouse plus whoever is in your household that's bringing in income. So you can add to that number if you have that available. For business, it's a little different because they do ask for income, but it's more projected annual income. So if you project over the course of the year, you'll make a certain income. It can be a little bit higher than what you expect to make. It's just a matter of how much projection do you think you can make, and is it within a reasonable, frame of reference. And so that's what I would say about that particular question. All right. Alvin Sui says, what's the calculus on the Hilton Aspire? Credits seem complicated to use, especially the resort credit. Any insights on your end? For the credits, you have to just look at those flight credits, the resort credits, and see if it's worth it to you. If you look at the free night certificate that you get every year and the Diamond Elite status, that alone may justify the $550 annual fee. Of course, it'd be nice to use the resort credits too, but there really is no way around it. You just have to use it the way you use it. And so that's a decision you have to make for yourself if you want to maximize it or not. Personally, I'd say try to maximize it. But again, if you're doing it for an FNC play, that's a different story, and you can just use that for S&C as long as you're getting the value that you get on top of that $550 annual fee. Okay. We have that question from Steven. Why is Hilton so popular when the points are so low, says T. Sanderson. What's the main appeal? Hilton is just a great rewards program. I mean, for me, I'm Hilton Gold, and I think the biggest draw for me is that it has that $25 food and beverage credit for up to people per day. That's very good, no matter how you look at it. And so if you go to get food and beverage credit, use that every day for two people, that's $50 per day. And that's on top of, whatever you're doing. So those can add up very quickly depending on the length of your stay. That's one part of the program that's very good. Another thing is that you can really get a good job or a good amount of value from, points upgrades or upgrades for your stay because you're Diamond Elite or Gold Elite. And they also have a good food certificates where it's uncapped, unlike the other ones from the other hotel programs that are capped. You can also say that the points are easy to earn and use because you have a lot more of them. So that's another thing that's really nice about Hilton too. So that would be my short answer of what's going on with Hilton. Okay. So we have Cesar in the house, mi hermano Stan. What's up, Cesar? Cesar is putting on our credit card creator meetup in Puerto Rico this November. And so if you want more information, check out the Venture Capital Discord for more information about that. I'll be there, Cesar will be there, and a lot of our other colleagues will be there as well to meet you in person. Hopefully we can do so, which will be awesome. Good to see you, my friend. Andy Poe's in the house. Frog Dog, keep crushing it. Thank you so much. Andy has also has a credit card YouTube channel, so definitely check him out. He's got some really good content on there, and it's very interesting discussion that we've had, especially on that new built card. So definitely check him out, to see another perspective on credit cards. Chris Redfield says, what would be the best setup for all spends using no annual fee? I would say just a cashback setup. If you want to look at no annual fee cards, I mean, there are a number of them. So the Smartly card is probably the best one that no annual fees in quotations though, because you got to park that 100K in like the brokerage or the savings account. But what I would say is any kind of 2% card. So Blue Business Plus, Fidelity Rewards Visa, SoFi credit card, Citi Double Cash, Wells Fargo Active Cash, you get the idea. And so there are also no annual fee cashback setups you can build. And so I do have a video on that coming out at some point soon. But you can also build no annual fee setups, again, if you have like things like the Citi Custom Cash for 5%, or you have the Wells Fargo Autograph for 3x on a lot of categories. You can build a very nice setup with not very many cards for no annual fee. So definitely something to work out for. Cesar says, I buy IHG and Hilton points when on sale with my cash back. That is the way to do it, Cesar. That is awesome and amazing. Interesting you said IHG because I thought you were a Hilton guy, but I'm glad you're going to IHG too because they do have some good properties and I love their program as well. Okay. M2K says, how far in advance does Hilton allow bookings? I want to take my wife to Bora Bora. I don't know the specific answer to that, but I believe it's about 11 to 12 months in advance. But I have to check the actual booking website to figure that out. Cesar says 1 to 2.5 or 2.6 Hilton can make sense. Great. DDP says, is the Bountiful really an upgrade to the Boundless? I'm not feeling the benefits. The answer is no. That card is trash, to quote Sledge. It is not, he didn't say that Boundless, he just says trash. So it is a very bad card, right? And so I don't like it. I think the Boundless is a much better value. I would use that card instead. I know people disagree with me, but I think that card should basically be ignored. The Bountiful for the Chase and the Amex Bevy, both of those cards are just, don't look at them. They're useless. Okay, so Max K says, thoughts on doing Amex Gold and Venture X instead of Saver and Venture X? I would say that if you can afford it, you can, right? So that Amex Gold and Venture X is better, but it costs more and takes more work. If you can do the work, I think it's better, and you like the transit partners. The Saver and Venture X is a great combo as a Capital One Duo because it's only one issuer, and you only pay the annual fee on the Venture X, and that can be net positive based on kind of everything we talked about that card from many other videos from before. So it depends on what you're looking for, and if the gold fits you, and you have like $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 a year spend on food, I would say the gold is going to be worth it, even without having the credits used. So I think if your food is very high spend, go for the gold. If it's kind of a normal everyday person spend, then I would say Capital One Saver One just fine. QC Man's in the house. Welcome, QC Man. Always good to see you here. General question: do you have a theory on why airlines are okay with giving points while using portals, but hotels, with a few exceptions, are stingy with point status when booking with third parties. Great life. Yeah, I don't know. I can just tell you that airlines are basically at this point in the United States, airlines are banks that fly planes. That's the way to look at airlines. So they're trying to figure out a way how to entice you to spend more money on their product. And so that may be one reason why they're giving points while using portals. With hotels, that they don't have the same, I think, business structure. They're actually just in the hospitality industry. And so I think it's less about that because they have their value already in the lodging that they create for you for that stay you have. So that would be my what I would say about that particular question. Okay. Monroe Doctrine says, current setup is Amex Platinum, Gold, Bonvoy Brilliant, Bonvoy Boundless. Hopefully it's the Ritz. Delta Reserve on military, no annual fees. I'm currently 524. Any new suggestions? So let's see here. You look like you're very Bonvoy heavy. You don't have to worry about annual fees. So suggestions with that would be just to go all in on Amex because they have the highest annual fees. And with MLA, you don't have to worry about that. So basically, I would just say, yeah, go for like the Hilton Aspire, go for like, you already have the Delta Reserve, the Brilliant, that's beautiful. If you want to go like more, you can do the business. I don't know when you got the Boundless card that may be locked out of the welcome offer at this point, but the Bonvoy Business is a way to get the combo of Brilliant Business, which is a fantastic combo for Marriott. But I would just say, go for the Aspire, man. And why not? I mean, that, as long as you got it, just go for it. Risk it for the biscuit, as my buddy Uncle Luke would say. CJ Bautista says, Stan the man, I made it. Greetings from a Hyatt place in Mexico. Always learn a lot, finishing up my weekend trip and had to join the live. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule in Mexico to spend time with us. We're going to learn a lot about in this particular live because we have a lot of great credit card setups and a lot of things I want to talk about, some great questions in the community posts. And so with that being said, I think that's where we're going to start ending that. So we're going to go and make sure I don't cover everything. We do have a lot, super chat, by Jason Lewis, who left out a $20 super spot. Thank you so much, my friend. I appreciate it. Hey, Stan, I loved your credit card limit increase videos. Altitude Go denied the limit increase. 1, too few joint accounts. 2, too many recently opened bank card accounts. And no cards over 2 years. Call for recon or let it go. So I don't know if you can recon a credit limit increase. I think you should do it because the worst they can say is no. So at least you shot your shot and you shot again. I would just wait until those things are better in your particular setup. That's what I would do particularly. So, okay. So thank you again, Jason Lewis. I'm sorry I didn't get to that super chat as fast as I should have. I just got really wrapped up in all the questions, but I really appreciate all of that. And so with that being said, let's add it to the stage in terms of the presentation. So again, a lot of great questions today. And so we're going to start out with this thing I got yesterday, which is kind of funny from because it was Valentine's Day. I got this message from American Express saying, happy 20th anniversary from American Express. Basically, I've been a member since 2005, and they sent me this little like picture being like, congratulations on being 20 years with Amex. And so that was really cool to see. And hopefully they, give other people this kind of welcome too. But 20th is a big number. It's been a long time since I've had an Amex card. And so good to see them. Would be nice if they sent me a gift, but I'm not going to complain. They've treated me very well, even though they have a lot of annual fees. So it's a plus minus, but thank you, Amex, for that. And hopefully, there's many more years to come with you and your issuer. So first things first, I'm going to start with my boy, Tony Venture. Just to kind of kick things off here, he said, what did you guys do for Valentine's Day, if you can share? Any cool restaurants, or did you go to an overnight somewhere? Maybe I finally cooked up some sushi. So I did cook up some sushi. I'm actually not really that good of a cook. I can cook salmon exquisitely well. And this is just a small side tangent, is that in college and before I got married, like the only thing I ever cooked for myself was salmon. And so I've like developed like the most perfected way to do it for myself. I personally bake my salmon. I love it because it's very good and it's not that hard to clean or make. And so I can do that, but I haven't really gotten to the sushi part. So we'll see kind of what happens with that. As a matter of fact, though, my wife and I did not spend Valentine's Day together because we have been apart. She actually went to see her family in Thailand, lucky her, and she left a couple weeks ago in January and will be back probably at the end of February. And so because of that, I spent it alone. But she's having a great time in Thailand with her family. And, I was jealous. I wanted to go, but she said, do you want to go? And of course I wanted to go, but, I have to go to work. And so I said I probably won't let me do that for a month. So I just let her go with her family, and I just have to sit here and watch all the images of the good food and her good times roll in. But we did schedule actually. We did actually schedule a way for us to get some time in, and so we did actually do a redemption for Valentine's Day, just so we can have that in the background. And so what we did was we actually went to our favorite staycation hotel, which was the Oceana. I don't know if you guys know about Oceana. It's a hotel in Santa Monica, California, and it is just a beautiful property. It's a Hilton LXR property. And we always use our extra free night certificates on this particular property. The rooms are gorgeous. They're all suites. Actually, for myself, we got upgraded as Hilton Gold from a regular suite to like a suite with like a living room separate portion. So that was really nice. And we used 2 Hilton FNCs for this particular booking on the weekend. So the bedroom is on the left, and then the bathroom's on the right. You can see it's very, very nice. But you can see, if you don't know, you can see this little guy here, and this is Peanut. So Peanut is actually super, super cute. My wife, if you didn't know, she loves jelly cats. And so Peanut is a little jelly cat. So here's some pictures of her actually putting Peanut into the area of the bathroom and seeing what it looks like. So this is Peanut on the left here next to the little plants thing on the bathroom. And then on the right, it's actually in the actual the robe here. And so we also went to the Aquarium of the Pacific in Long Beach for that as well. You can see that's what we wanted to do. Because of the fact that there was a frog exhibit, we did wanted to check it out. And so that's a picture of me looking at frogs. And I think there's a frog here on the right that we're checking out, which some of them are actually smaller than I thought. You think of frogs as something that's really big, but actually there are some very, very tiny frogs as well. So there's that too. Okay. So that's that. I do want to mention that there will be polls. We talk about the credit card setups that are coming up. So I want to get you guys all plugged into that. So if you could, we're going to start with the first question here, and that's to go to menti.com, which I'm going to do right now as well. And you can enter either the 8-digit code or scan the QR code. And there's going to be a little quiz here. Let me see. And so that is going to be, let me put that in here. All right. So you can see the first question here is going to be, do you like to go to aquariums? Yes or no? And so that's going to be the first thing. You go ahead and hit the like button if you can to let me know that you're there. And so if you're all there, I'm going to put this banner up top here, put that here, and go ahead and press the next one right about now. Okay. So do you like to go to aquariums? Yes or no? Maybe you like it. Maybe you don't. Like to go to zoos or Disneyland or what have you. It's going to depend on what you guys like. It looks like everyone loves aquariums. I highly recommend, by the way, the Aquarium of the Pacific. Beautiful aquarium. We've never been there before. We always try to go when we are in a new location and just making sure that we cover that. So that is really something that we do. So looks like we have 12 of you in the house. Awesome. So just keep going about that. So we'll kind of leave it there, but I appreciate you guys logging in. So now you guys are locked into the voting. So we're going to go ahead and get started on the next section here. So we'll go ahead and put that back to the stage, and we'll take this guy back down. Okay, so the first question is a credit card challenge. And so I had this actually happen by email. So someone emailed me about a video idea, and I think it's interesting. So I wanted to try it out on this live stream. Basically, the premise is this. The premise is I'm given a set criteria of what credit card setup should look like. And then I have to build a credit card setup from these criteria. And then I can either show it and then either compare it to another one that was already built, or we can like talk about it. So this is the criteria that was sent to me. So let me know what you think about that. So build a credit card setup with a given set of criteria. And this is what he sent to me. He also sent to me his own credit card setup, which he's very happy with, but I'm going to compare that setup to the one I'm going to build for you in front of your screen right now based on the set criteria. So what is that criteria is? So the first is 4 cards max and 4 issuers max. We also have an $800 annual fee max, including authorized user, top tier travel credit card insurance. Some cards must have no foreign transaction fees, a TSA global entry credit, airport lounge access, user flies United 3 to 4 times a year, and he said he's based out of Chicago, and the user also shops at Costco and Costco gas. All right, so let's take a look at that situation. So I think because there's so many criteria, the best way to break it down is to figure out how can we break this down into little chunks so that we can do this in the most efficient way possible. And I know you guys are also thinking in your own minds, what would be the credit setup, card setup I would build in this situation too. And so why don't you go ahead and think about that yourself as we're going through this, and you can also drop down your 4 cards that you decide, or whatever setup you decide, based off of what I do. We can see, compare and contrast. So methodology is you want to identify a top travel insurance card first. We'll likely cover TSA Supplementary Credit. So if you identify the top travel card first, the TSA Supplementary Credit, the lounge access, and the no FTS will probably be covered already, just baked into that. So that's good. The second question is it United card or no United card? And so that's also another question we have to think about, because if it's if he flies out of United Airlines a lot, does a United card addition make sense for him in the situation? The next thing is going to be to create a core setup to cover the remaining spending categories that aren't covered. And so that's the way we're going to do this. Sosa says that VentureX is in there so fast based on those criteria. I think that'd be an excellent idea because it is a lower annual fee card, before that. But the reason why that I didn't go with that card is because we were looking for the best travel protections. And so when you think about cards with the best travel insurance, the best travel insurances are going to come from 2 cards or types of cards. The first is going to be the Amex Platinum, and the second is going to be the Chase Sapphire Reserve. And you can see that there are certain cards that are listed below those cards too, which are the Amex Bonvoy Brilliant, Hilton Aspire, and Delta Reserve on the Amex side, and the Ritz-Carlton on the Chase side. And the reason why they're listed there is because if you look at travel insurances, they're pretty much identical, if not identical, between those categories of cards. So if you have a Platinum or a Brilliant, you'll get the same travel insurances. Same thing with the Reserve and the Ritz-Carlton, you'd have the same. So both of those are good travel insurances cards too. And Vincent Pascal also wants to add that United Club Infinite also has the same travel protections as CSR and Ritz. So thank you for that. We want to add that to the list as well. I appreciate that. So the question now becomes, do we use the Platinum for the best travel insurance or the Chase Sapphire Reserve? And to figure that out, we have to figure out what exactly do they have. So this is a table that I made for one of my credit card consultation clients, but I wanted to share it with you guys because it's a very good table that makes things very easy to see. And so when you look at this table, you can see that both cards have trip cancellation, trip interruption insurance. They have trip delay reimbursement and lost luggage reimbursement as well. I would say that only difference is Amex has $2,000 for check bag in terms of the maximum per person, as opposed to $3,000 for everything. When you look at the other categories, though, Amex doesn't cover baggage delay, travel accident insurance, as well as emergency medical and dental. But what differentiates the two of them is that the Amex card does give you an unlimited emergency evacuation and transport on their protections, whereas the Visa Infinite cards give you only $100K. And so that's just a small thing, but either one of those things could sway you in one direction or the other. I would argue that for most people, the Chase Sapphire Reserve, Ritz-Carlton, United Infinite card would be one way to go. And so that would be what I would prefer to choose in that situation. So for that first thing, I would say the card number 1 would be the annual fee of $550 plus a $75 annual authorized user. So that's already kind of a high amount. The other reason why I didn't choose a Platinum, by the way, is because it's too high of a card in terms of an annual fee. So that's $695 plus $195, that's already over $800. And so we can't even use that card to begin with. But this card gets you everything you want in a lot of the criteria. You have annual fee, airport lounge access, the TSA PreCheck, no federal transaction fees, it unlocks the Chase Channel Partners, and you also get that 50% redemption boost through the Chase Travel Portal, which is pretty good too. We also get the Mix Travel, which is awesome. So that would be good to start as our first card. The second question to answer is, do we want to get actually a United card as well? And so from my perspective, there are 2 options to consider, the United Explorer card and the United Club card. And so both of them have an annual fee. United Explorer is $95, which is what we'll choose probably in this situation because it is a lower annual fee, as well as priority boarding, a first check bag that's free, and 2 United Club passes. The club card is a higher annual fee, so we actually can't really use this for this situation, but it has a lot of good benefits. Like Vincent said, it has those travel protections, priority boarding, 2 check bags that are free, and United Club access that's unlimited, which is super nice. Andrew Beach says, what do you have to do to activate the travel protections? That seems to be unclear. Do you have to book the entire trip, just the airfare? What if booked on points? And so the answer to that question is that Chase will allowed them for partial common carrier. So just a part of that trip would qualify you for the entire trip, is what I understand. But for Amex Platinum and the other cards, you have to do it for just you have to do the whole trip on that one card, so the whole like round trip situation. So that's what I would say in terms of getting the protections to activate for either one of those two types of cards. And so in terms of that, the United Explorer, it's like a maybe. If you look at its CSR, you have about $175 left in annual fees. You get one $95 to $99 annual fee card. That's most mid-tier credit cards. You also have a choice of an Amex card that's $150, so the Amex Green, Delta Gold, or Surpass. That's kind of what you're left with for the remaining annual fee cards. And so I think at this point, I wouldn't choose the Explorer only because you don't fly that much. And I think it's better to, instead of choosing a benefits type card, choosing a core credit card for your core credit card setup would be better to cover more categories at a higher level. Just as my perspective, core credit card setup is the number one thing to do first. And so because of that, I did choose cards number 2 and 3. Number 2 being the Venture card for a $95 annual fee, which gets you 5x on select Capital One travel, which would be, I believe, hotels, vacation rentals, and rental cars, and then 2x on everything else. So that's a good catch-all card. And then you can cover other categories with food using the no annual fee Capital One Saver card for the 5x on Capital One travel that's selected that we talked about before, 3x at grocery stores, 3x miles on dining, 3x miles on entertainment, and 3x miles on select streaming, with 1x miles back on all other purchases. And so Sosa says the $800 cutoff is what makes this tricky. And so I agree with that. That's the issue. This is what Kevin Wynn came up with. Chase Sapphire Reserve, Autograph, Explorer, and Chase Freedom Unlimited. I tried to follow the rules. That's a really good setup. I like that. You have a good main card as well as United Explorer for that benefits card cover up. That's really good. And I think the combination of the Sapphire Reserve and Unlimited is actually a great combo as well, because you can use that 50% redemption boost to make those Freedom Unlimited points worth a lot more, which is great. So this is actually what I came up with, which is the Sapphire Reserve, Venture card, and Capital One Saver card. Again, it covers all the criteria that is listed out in the challenge from before. It is missing the gas category, so I do want to cover that in a little bit. But this is the 3 that I came up with. And so, like Kevin, if you had an idea of what setup you would create, leave them down in the comments below. We can talk about it. I do want to talk about the gas card, though. The gas card for him, the last criteria he had was he actually goes to Costco and uses Costco gas for his gas purchases. Now, this is a great card to use for that purpose. It is a third issuer at the Citi ecosystem, but maybe it'd be worth it as a no annual fee card with no firm transaction fees. You could use it for 5% back on Costco gas, as that it was a recently revamped multiplier on this card, as well as a 2% Costco for all purchases. That's not necessarily the best card to use for this. Actually, the PayPal debit card may be another option, and we'll talk about that in a second. But this would be another card that's a simple card to use that can actually be pretty helpful for the situation to cover those Costco purchases and cover the gas category as well. And so when it comes down to it, this is the setup card. Aside from the third issuer situation, the setup that I made for the 4 cards with the Sapphire Reserve, Venture card, Capital One Saver one, and the Citi Costco card. Now, the person that emailed me said that his setup was a Sapphire Preferred, the Ritz-Carlton card, the Amazon Prime card, and the Citi Double Cash card. And so this is what he said, what he used the card for. He said he used it as 6x for Marriott's on the Ritz-Carlton card, as well as for the airport lounge access and other Marriott benefits, the 3x on dining and 2x on travel for non-Marriott purchases, the 2% catch-all on the Citi Double Cash, as well as the 5% Amazon purchases and 5% Whole Foods, as well as 2% on Costco gas. So again, I think that gas category can be elevated in some way. Again, there's limits because he only wants 4 cards, not a lot of issuers. But I think adding additional issuer, even if it was to be like a card that was on your mobile wallet that you have to carry around very often, that would be another way to make it simpler for you. But that would be what I'd say for this particular setup. And so that's the setups itself. I do want to do a poll now to see kind of what you guys think about that particular setup. Now, the 2 setups that I showed before actually are going to be the setups between myself, which is setup 1, and setup 2. And the question is not going to be which one is better, but which one would you use based on the two setups we presented. And so we're going to go ahead and go to menti.com. Again, the banner is here to use code down there as well. So we'll go ahead and start the polling here in 3, 2, 1. And here we go. So this is the poll. Which setup would you use, the first one or the second one? Which one would you use here? So let me see. I'm going to say that. Okay. So we have a couple people voting here. It looks like setup 2 is the one that actually is more popular or not. We'll kind of see. So again, it's not the best one. There are more than one types of setups to use, and there may be another setup that's even better than that that we didn't talk about. We only have Kevin Wynn's suggestion here. He said, Jake Boudet has a nice question too. He says, for the short term, you could go in branch to chase for the 5x on gas and groceries in the first year on the Freedom Flex. Long term would need a better card for a consistent gas category. Yeah, I think that's the crux of the situation here, is that the gas category isn't well covered. And so if we can find a way to cover that, that would be the best. Andrew Beach says which one is which. And so if we go back really quickly to the slide, this is what setup 1 looks like. This is what setup 2 looks like. And so that's what you would be voting on for. And so going back to here, take that there as well. So it looks like the first setup is the more popular, but not by much. Again, there's no right or wrong answer. It depends on what you use for that. And so there's that. So thank you so much for the voting. We're going to stop it there. I see that my main man, Luke, Uncle Luke from Luke's Points and Miles is up here. What's up, Stanley Man? Good to see you here, Luke, and thanks for joining the live stream today. And so we're going to go back to our stage here, and I want you guys to give me some feedback. So what did you guys think of this segment? I think it'd be an interesting type of challenge for me to do either on a live stream or in a long form video. If you like that type of creativity that we had to do, I think that would be something to figure out. So let me know if you think that is good or not. I would love the feedback on it. If you like it and you have an idea for a future challenge, you can go ahead and email me at that email address, stan@thecreditfrog.com, or message me on my website /contact, which is thecreditfrog.com/contact, and then I can go ahead and get that, look at that for you. We can kind of figure out what would be a great idea for that. Sosa says, don't love either, and that's totally fine. It's not for everyone for sure. And the criteria was what makes it hard, right? It's not like, what setup can I make that's the best? It's like, what setup can I make that's the best in that certain criteria? And so that's what the challenge is, and I think that's what makes it interesting and fun. Jeff B says, too many variables, not answers. Do you fly coach or business first? How much are you spending on gas, groceries, and food? If you gave the info, would be easier to answer. And I think you have a very good point, Jeff B, and we'll really get to that too, because it's hard to really feature all of that in a live stream format, but those are very important questions to ask. But again, given what the situation that I have to work with what I'm given. And so I think that's a very important note to say. Okay, so the next section is going to be on just mostly credit card setup. I call it potpourri because it didn't fit in another category. And we'll start here with Kirby. Now, Kirby was actually back on the live stream last month, and we actually voted on his particular setup last time. And he said, hey, Stan, just wanted to give an update from the last live stream. He ended up getting pulling the trigger and completing the Capital One Duo. He's acquired the Saver card and will be rocking that as his main setup, which is awesome. While I am tempted to get the Delta Reserve with its increased offer, I am very interested in the world of business cards, and I'm looking to start a side hustle soon, which is awesome, by the way. That's the best. Number one reason I think you should look at credit cards is to start a side hustle. It's wonderful. I think the world of business is a very cool place to be. And so the fact that, we've stimulated that discussion and kind of opened up that door for you is just fantastic, and I love that. Thanks again to you and your audience who have given me great tips as I am starting my credit card journey. So that's wonderful to hear. So just as a reminder, this is what his setup was from before. So he has the Delta Platinum, the Built card, the Venture card, the Freedom Unlimited card, and the US Bank Cash Plus. The main crux was, should I keep going for welcome offers or should I create a core setup? I said, why not do both? Because you can get a core setup while getting welcome offers with the main point being Capital One Saver 1, because that is a card that could really help us set up in a great deal, which is what he ended up getting. And by the way, I said Saver 1, but I meant to say the Saver, as they recently changed that card. We did vote on it last time, and most people said the Capital One Duo was better than the Chase Trifecta because it did have some Chase cards from before. And so that is a really great thing to hear, that we did a great job for his portfolio. I do want to mention, though, that if you are looking for starter business cards, these are the three that came to my mind when we talked about that. There are three that are good: the Business Plus by Amex, the Freedom Unlimited by by Chase, the Ink Unlimited, or the Ink Cash for that matter, or the Signify Business Cash from Wells Fargo. And the reason why I say that is because these are all no annual fee cards. They get you a pretty good return on spend for everything, and it's pretty simple. So for me, I've actually had an ability to get these cards, not the Wells Fargo one, but I do have both the Ink Unlimited as my main card for my real estate business, and I have the Blue Business Plus as the main card for my YouTube business. And so I actually got these cards right when I opened the businesses. And so it's interesting because some people say you should, in terms of years the business card is open or business is open, you should say, a little bit of time. I actually put 0 on my application because that's what happened. For my Blue Business Plus, I opened that about 10 days or so after my YouTube channel was open. And for the Ink Unlimited, same thing, as about 10 to 14 days after I started my business. Now, for the Blue Business Plus, you can see that this is a 10% return on spend if you look at the welcome offer. So you can see if you value MRs at 2 cents per point, that's what that is. Same thing for the Signify Business Cash. It's $500 and $5,000 in 3 months. So that's another 10% return on spend, although the min spend is going to be higher. The Ink Unlimited with the standard offer, if you value your points at 2 cents per point, that's going to be about a 25% return on spend. So that's the most valuable, just understanding that the 6K is going to be a lot higher than that. My buddy Chad's in the house. Good to see you, Chad. Love to see you, as well as John R. Thank you so much for being here, Chad. Good to see you as well. And so in terms of the business cards here, I would say the Amex Blue Business Plus is easiest to open. When I applied for the card, they asked me for my business name, address, and EIN, and then after that, I was approved after going to a pending status. For the Ink Unlimited, when I applied, basically they denied me outright, so I had to call them and explain a few things, and then I got approved eventually for the card. And then I actually don't have any experience with the Wells Fargo card, although I know that it doesn't report to your credit report, so that's a good thing, and also it's a pretty nice, cashback when you look at that welcome offer. So there's that. The next question is from South EXF, and he says, "Hey Stan, maybe you or Tony or both of you can answer or give me your opinion. I have the Chase Ink Cash plus Unlimited plus Ink Preferred and a Chase Freedom Unlimited and a Sky Miles Gold card. I was looking at getting either a CSR or Capital One Venture X. Obviously heavy in the Chase ecosystem. Do you think I should get the CSR or venture out, no pun intended, and get the Venture X?" So to visualize what he's saying, this is actually what his portfolio is: Ink Cash, Ink Unlimited, Ink Preferred, Chase Freedom Unlimited, Delta Gold, Sky Miles card from Amex. And to just make it a little more clear, here's what I would assume he is actually spending on. So 5X on the supply stores and internet cable phone for the Ink Cash, 1.5 back on the Ink Unlimited, 3X travel on the Ink Preferred, plus it unlocks the Chase's transfer partners, the Freedom Unlimited with 3X on dining, as well as 3X on drugstores, as well as the Delta Gold card for the benefits particularly, since it's not a really good spending card. So he has 3 business cards, 2 personal cards, mostly Chase, 1 Amex. Is it better to get the Chase Sapphire Reserve or the Capital One Venture X? And so to kind of figure this out, I think it's important to go ahead and figure out what these 2 cards are head-to-head in his context. And so these are the 2 cards head-to-head for him. One obviously gets Chase Sapphire lounges, one gets Capital One lounges, one gets a good multiplier, one gets a good redemption boost and travel protections. And they both get travel protections, but I would argue that, like I said before, the Sapphire Reserve gets you better travel protections than the Capital One Venture X. So when I look at the question, in my perspective, this is a lounge question more than it is a card question. Because if you like the Chase Sapphire lounge offerings and you're living in a close to those areas, or you fly to those airports, I would go with the Chase Sapphire Reserve. If you have a lot of Capital One lounges where you're flying out of, then I would go with the Capital One Venture X. You do have more Chase cards, and you're just opening up a new Capital One card. So It could go either way, but I think it's more of a lounge question than anything. So knowing that actually is important. Andrew Beach also says, may also be a groceries question. That is absolutely true too, because if we look back on his other area here, he doesn't really have any groceries set up either. And I think that's a really good point because the question was about like those two cards, and certainly we can improve this setup a great deal, but the actual question was about those two cards. So that's why I didn't focus on it, but you're absolutely right, Andrew. Groceries is absolutely one of the pain points here in this particular setup. And so from my perspective, this is what I would say for his recommendation. So assuming he prefers Sapphire Lounge access, I would say you can get the Chase Sapphire Reserve, and you don't actually need the Ink Preferred when you have a Chase Sapphire Reserve, unless you're using the Ink Preferred for like a specific business purpose. If you do that, it keeps your setup simple because really the Ink Preferred's benefit is that 3x travel category for $95. And so if you're getting that already on the 550 Chase Sapphire Reserve, it's more of a redundant thing. And so I would not carry both cards at the same time. At least that's what I would think. I think in this way, if you keep it with Chase, your setup is still simple, which is very good. And so you don't have to add another issuer to that. Having said that, I will say that, as we all know, Capital One has these very weird approval requirements where you can't really figure out if you get approved or not. But it seems like the more credit cards that you have, the less likely you have to be approved for that card. So how do we deal with that? So if you can think you're going to get the Venture X eventually, I would consider getting that card first, just so you don't get to the point where we have a lot of cards. But if you look back on the particular slide with his cards, you can see that he only has 2 personal cards. So those are the only 2 cards he has in the setup. So it's still a very low amount of cards. So I think going either for Reserve first, Venture X second, or vice versa, I think it's going to be a personal decision on his part on what he wants to do. QCman also comes around and says that workaround for groceries is using the CIC to buy gift cards. Don't need purchase protection on groceries. I hope not. I don't think so either. That is, one way is to do it is to actually go ahead and, use in cash for another type of purpose to see if that would be helpful for that too. So that's the answer for him. And so I think the next question is from Saranya R. And so he also is a previous contributor to the live stream where we talked over his setup. Basically, his question, I think goes back in October, where he asked a question about, should I continue going for welcome offer cards or not? Because at that point, I believe he was Chase 1424. And I just told him to, calm down. It's okay. I think at this point, it may be helpful to kind of cool it off a little bit and go ahead and create a core credit card setup for yourself so you can have something to fall back on when you're not really working on all these welcome offers at one time. So that was a background to that. And look who it is. It's Saranya Roy. He's here. He says, hello all, which is excellent. Good to see you. So we're going to answer your question live on the screen here. He says, after your previous much-needed bashing, which is, I don't say it was bashing, it was just more of a constructive criticism, I finally could put some time to build the core setup. So his setup is here. We'll kind of go over that in a moment on the next slide. His questions are, why PayPal debit not so popular? It helps to be in spending range, balancing the apparently higher tendency to meet the welcome offer spending. And so, yeah, we'll go over that in one second. And then also the second question is, how can a family of 4 with 2 adults and 2 kids benefit from the airline companion certificates? He researched online, unsure about the feasibility of using 2 certificates, in one booking, or do I need to book 2 reservations separately? So there are a number of different certificates. There's the Southwest Companion Pass, which I know for sure you have to book it 2 different itineraries because you can't have 2 companion passes on one account. There's also the Alaska one, and there's also the Delta one. I don't have familiarity with the Alaska or Delta, other than to say that I'm pretty sure that the companion certificates are attached to your Mileage Plus number or your SkyMiles number. And so it is probably likely that you have to book 2 reservations to use the companion certificates, and you can't do it on one itinerary. That would be my guess. But if those of you who have done this before know, leave it down in the comments below so that Saranya has the answer to that particular question. But going back to the first question, let's first look at his setup. So his setup, again, is the PayPal MasterCard times 2, Capital One Venture X, the US Bank Connect card, the Built card, the US Bank Smartly card, and the Bonvoy Brilliant card. And if we look at what actually he's spending money on, this is what's going on. He's using the PayPal PayPal Debit MasterCard, which, by the way, is a great card that gives you a 5% category you choose each month for up to $1,000 in spend, which is actually pretty phenomenal for a debit card. And so he uses 5% restaurants on one of them, 5% groceries on the second one. He uses travel for Capital One, which is mostly through the Capital One travel portal. I believe Capital One taxes hotels, vacation rentals, and rental cars with 5x miles on flights. He also gets 4x on travel for the US Bank Altitude Connect card. 1x on rent. I assume it's actually the 4% you have on the Smartly card. I'm not sure, but I think that's what you're alluding to. And then you have the Brilliant card right now for the welcome offer, which is on the side at this point. And so I wanted to kind of go into the actual question about the PayPal debit card, which I think is actually a phenomenal card that I actually have been experimenting too over the past couple of months. And so it's a debit card that's easy to open. There's no credit check or anything like that because it's a debit account. And basically you can just load money onto the debit account and spend and get 5% cash back on your selected category. And it's basically twice as high as the Citi Custom Cash's limit. It's at $1,000 instead of $500. And so I think that's pretty great. There's been some videos on it. I'm just going to talk about the one I saw by Mr. Daniel Sparks, who's another credit card YouTuber, by the way. So check him out if you haven't already. But he did this video about the PayPal MasterCard where he actually went to Target, Walmart, and Costco and had this card set to the grocery category. And each one of those places actually coded grocery for 5%, which is incredible. And some of you may be thinking, well, Costco only accepts Visa. How did he use the PayPal MasterCard for that? Well, because it's a debit card, it doesn't count. So you can actually use any debit card you want at Costco, even though it's a MasterCard. So that's a really cool thing to see with a no annual fee, obviously, debit card that can get you 5% in groceries at Target, Walmart, and at Costco at the same time. For me personally, I even use this card for restaurants. And so I actually like what Saranya did because he uses two of them, one for him, one for his wife. And I probably will do the same thing at this point because my wife does most of the grocery shopping and I do almost none of it. So I think if I put her card as a 5% grocery card, that would be fantastic. The only issue is you have to really worry about having that $1,000, if you're spending up to that or not. But I look back to my transactions, most grocery purchases were under $1,000 for me anyways, which is fine. But I use actually for restaurants. And so what I do for this card is I actually load up $1,000 up to it each month. And I just spend on the card the whole month. And then before the month ends, I load another up to $1,000. So if I spent $100, for example, I'd put another $100 back on the card. As long as I have $1,000 in that account at all times, that's what I'm looking for. And what I really love about the restaurant category, and maybe some of you have seen this too in your neighborhoods. I live in a suburb in Southern California, so I don't see it that often, but it's becoming increasingly common to see this credit card fee on your restaurant bill. And you guys know what I mean, especially if you live in like New York City or LA, they add this 3% fee as a credit card charge if you use a credit card. And that's becoming more and more problematic with restaurants I'm going to. But now, because I have a debit card, I don't need to pay that fee anymore. And I still get 5% cash back on restaurants. And that is just an amazing product. So I think it's good. I had a little bit of a problem starting up. I think when I first started with this card, I could only put in $100 in at a time, which was really annoying. But I think it was just like fraud protection. But after a couple of weeks, it was fine. But definitely highly recommend using this card for your credit card setup for a no annual fee option and a 5% cashback option if that's kind of your thing. Just something to think about. So hopefully some of you guys take a look at it. Again, easy to open. It's really like stress-free. It's all on the app, and go ahead and just check it out. QC Man says, damn, hopefully PayPal doesn't nerf the 5% wholesale clubs. Yeah, I hope so. They don't either. It's been out for quite some time now. It's only really gaining some traction on YouTube over the past, I would say, few months. And I wanted to really test it out first myself before I started talking about it. And so far, it's been pretty legit for restaurants. Almost all the restaurants I've been to have been fine, and they've all coded correctly at 5%. You get the cash back right away, so you can just apply it as you go if you want to. I just wait to the end of the month just to make it easier for myself, but you could, if you wanted to, apply the cash back with every transaction you do. Sosa said, that's wild. Restaurants may as well start putting their lease fee on the bills as well. Yeah, I know. This credit card fee is ridiculous. But again, I get it. As a small business owner, you have to really figure out how to deal with things. In California, the labor laws are a little bit more stringent, so there has to be more into that in terms of cost from the business owner side. So I kind of understand, but it really does suck because that's not a fee that you used to have, and now it's there. So anyways, This is one way to get around that 3% fee, is that PayPal debit MasterCard. QC Man says a lot of places exclude debit cards from the added fees, but some of those places also add the fee on debit cards, which is crooked. I haven't seen that before. That would be really annoying because I think like the fee on that is really capped at, I believe it's like 1% or something. So, I mean, hopefully they don't do anything like that. Kevin Wynn says PayPal debit MasterCard it's like prepaid card and also loopholes for the credit card fees. Yeah, I think again, this is a great card. So I would just get it and use it while it lasts because this is a phenomenal card. So thank you, Saranya, for mentioning that. And hopefully that answered your question. Ciaran Patarot says, with more common 3% credit card fees at merchants, that's a great point. Otherwise, I don't think it's worth the trouble opening a debit account for the max $50 savings per month. It's up to you. I mean, it's definitely something that's easy to do. It's not hard. And that's why I wanted to try it. It is a little bit more work because you got to make sure the debit account has enough money in it to like do the expenses you want to do. But if you can look around of that, that's okay. David Williams says, I got the 3% Chartway debit card, $10 per month max, kind of junk. That is kind of junk, actually. $10 per month max is not really, it's not really a lot. Andrew Beach says, I'm guessing the PayPal debit works at Costco because you're using debit as a MasterCard. That is absolutely correct. Like I said before, it works at Costco because it's a debit card, which is key. So if you're looking for 5% cashback at Costco, that is one way to go. And I think that's a really eye-opening thing to see. Sosa says, it's time to start paying the restaurants that do that in pennies before they stop being produced. Yeah, you can just do that. Just bring a whole gigantic bags of pennies and just pay them. Although I think our president said they want to get rid of pennies at this point. I'm not sure if that'll be around anymore. We'll see. Saranya Roy says, same 5% grocery for player 2, 5% restaurant for player 1. And he says, thank you. I appreciate that. Of course, anytime. Robert says, Walmart and Target, great 5%. Absolutely. And then Manuel Jimenez also says, I've seen some gas stations charge a fee for ATMs. I mean, most ATMs charge a fee. It depends on if your ATM fee card issuer will reimburse them or not. But I would say most ATMs charge fees, and that's kind of a normal thing. But that does suck too. All right. So the second question is the poll. We just had a whole discussion about this 5% card. So I want to know from your guys' perspective, what is the 5% card that's your favorite out of the following options? So again, go to menti.com and you can enter the code here on the bottom. I'll put my banner up so we can change screens here. And so I want to know between the PayPal debit MasterCard, now that you know all about it, the Citi Custom Cash, or the Chase Freedom Flex, which card of those three is your favorite out of those? And so I'm going to start the polling here in 3, 2, 1, and here we go. So which one out of those three is now going to be your favorite? I'm going to go ahead and vote my card here. Okay. So it looks like we're still, it's pretty even actually at this point. We have PayPal debit card kind of in the lower section. Most people like the Citi Custom Cash. Now, reminder, the Citi Custom Cash is a transferable point currency card, although not by itself. It does have that opportunity to turn those 5x thank you points into something even better if you have that Citi Strata Premier card. And so that is something to think about too. It also depends on if you're cashback versus points and miles. And so that's another thing as well. It looks like a lot of people still like the Citi Custom Cash as well as the Chase Freedom Flex. And that's fine. Andrew Beach also mentions, yeah, it's not on PayPal, not a transferable currency. And that's right. Again, it depends if you want cashback or not. I'm personally moving towards a cashback setup as I'm not really getting a lot of value from the transferable currencies yet. As I said at the very beginning of the live stream, I have a lot of Amex MRs, Chase URs already, so I don't need to get it as much. So I'd rather have the immediate value from the cashback myself. Sosa says, definitely Citi Custom Cash. There is something to be said for simplicity, not having to go and activate categories or worry about transferring to PayPal balance. And you're right. It is actually the simplest one. The balance sucks, but it is a part of the process. T. Sanderson says, don't forget the words plus. And then Andrew Beach says, although PayPal may be my Costco card. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm going to start doing that too. It's something that I think is a really cool thing to see. Okay. All right, so I think we're all done with that. So it looks like the Citi Custom Cash is the winner here, followed by the Freedom Flex, and then followed by the PayPal debit card. Okay, before we go back, I do want to just copy this comment real fast here. Can I grab the gold, platinum, then Schwab platinum and be eligible for all bonuses? I believe you cannot at this point. I believe the gold, platinum in that sequence you can. I don't believe you can get a Schwab platinum bonus after getting the platinum card. If that has changed, somebody let me know, but I think that's how it is now. Okay. All right. So let's keep going on to our next slide here. So also I want to mention that my buddy JP Knowledge is in the house. What's up, Stan? Saturday morning. A happy Saturday morning. It's finally not raining in Southern California. Yeah, I'm into that, man. I mean, it's been raining for a long time, and it's time for some sunshine, which is great. I do actually shout you out towards the end of the video, JP, so just stick around for that if you can. But our next section is going to be credit card setup specifically. And so let's go ahead and look at that. QC Man says, no value from transferable currency. Need to take JP Knowledge's course, Stan. I actually have already purchased his course, and I'm working through it. And I'm not saying it's no value. It's just that points that you collect and don't use don't have any value at all. And right now, I don't have an active trip I'm booking that I can see in my foreseeable future right now. So that's why I'm moving to Cashback to get that immediate value. I have enough points already to capture any kind of spend I want to do on a first or international business class flight. I just have to figure out what I want to do. Once I do that, then there's going to be, a situation with that. And that at that point, having those transferable currencies would be a lot better for me and something would be helpful. Okay. Before we get started too, Jay Norum says, sorry if this has been asked already, but what is the best Visa credit card to use for gas at Costco to earn points? I already have the Costco credit card, but I like earning points more than cash. That is a good question, earning points. So that, I don't really have a good answer for you. I would say any Visa card that gets you what you want. So the Venture X is going to be one of them for 2x points back. I believe the Wells Fargo Autograph should also work for that because it has 3x on gas too. So that's a transferable currency. Citi, I believe, can't work because it's a MasterCard, the Starter Premier card. Chase is just useless, so they don't have anything there. And Amex, I don't think they're not a Visa either, so that's out. So those are the ones I would say. Okay. Good. All right. So, here we go. We have Robert saying Wells Fargo Autograph for gas Costco. So good. I'm glad that I'm not making that up. The gas category is on that Wells Fargo Autograph card. Okay. So we have some big questions here from two of the people that ask questions. Mr. Manase is first. He says, rate my setup: Sapphire Preferred, Built, Wells Fargo Autograph, Delta Platinum, Blue Business Plus. And we'll also go over what he uses for each card in the next slide, so don't worry about that. He has holes in the setup, which is the in-person grocery and the lounge access, and he's also at 324, so he does care about 524 at the moment. He wants to get the Venture X and Boundless soon, and has no problem paying annual fees if he's getting value, like, for example, free nights or discounted flights. He's waiting for the potential green refresh on the Amex card before starting to move up the Amex charge card ladder. And he wants to wait at least 4 years, at least wait for the 4-year timer to end so he can downgrade to CSP and get a new welcome offer on a CSR. The question is, he does love hotel cards, especially with those free nights. He loves Chase points, but he doesn't like what happened with the Aeroplan situation, which, as you all know, they have moved to some dynamic pricing on certain airlines that are transferable from Aeroplan. And so that was his main use case, but now that's being devalued as everything has devalued over time. So visually speaking, this is what his card setup looks like. It's the Sapphire Preferred, the Wells Fargo Autograph, the Built MasterCard, the Blue Business Plus, as well as the Delta SkyMiles Platinum. And from his question, this is how he uses his cards. He uses 5x Chase Travel for the Preferred, 3x on dining, as well as the 3x on online groceries, 3x on gas, the 3x on dining as a secondary priority, as well as 1x on rent on the Built card, 2x catch-all credit card on his Blue Business Plus, as well as the annual companion pass on his SkyMiles card. And so when I'm looking at that, the first thing that came to my mind was actually that he has a lot of issuers, right? So you have 5 cards with 4-point systems, and then you want to get the Venture X too, so that's like a 5th system. So you have Amex, Chase, Wells Fargo, and Built. And I know Wells Fargo or Built is a part of Wells Fargo, but because they're separate point systems, they're counted as separate. And so 3 of those 4 transfer Aeroplan, which is your main thing. So I think that's fine because when you look again at the setup, it's not a bad thing to get a bunch of credit cards to diversify your points earning systems. But sometimes you get spread too thin when you do that because there's a lot going on at this point. So again, you look back here, we have Chase, Wells Fargo, we have Bilt, we have American Express, and then you want to add the Venture X too. So how could we make this a little bit better? Well, the first thing you want to do is you said you wanted hotel cards with FNCs. I think Boundless is a nice choice to start with that. I love that card because it puts you on that pathway to seeing if you like Marriott or not, because it can be for you or it cannot be for you depending on what you're looking for. And so it's a good $95 annual fee to kind of get to that point. And then at the 1 year mark, you can decide if you want to go forward or not. You also have the opportunity to product change that to the Ritz-Carlton card if you want to, because that's a nice option. But that way you have that moving forward for you as time moves forward. If you get the Venture X, you can consider downsizing into a 1 to 2 flexible point currency ecosystem for your core credit card setup. Again, there's a lot of points, and at this point, you're using Aeroplan as your main transferable currency, but there's some level to simplicity here. So I think if you want to add the Venture X and use that Capital One Duo, if you add the Capital One Saver card, would also solve your deficiency in the grocery and the lounge access categories in terms of getting the Venture X and the Saver card. Because right now you just have online grocery, and although you can use grocery store apps to go around that, it'd be nicer to have a grocery setup right away, which would be really nice. So that's what I would say for that. And so that would be his setup there. So again, before we get to the next setup, if we look at it again, if we add the Venture X, you'll get a replacement for the 2X catch-all card on the Blue Business Plus, and then you'll also get the Capital One Saver card, and you'll have those systems, and then you can figure out, do you want to keep the other systems or not, and cover that deficiency again in the lounge access as well as the grocery category. The next setup is from Trip P, big fan of the channel, so I appreciate you asking this question. For his setup, he has the Amex Gold card, which is for grocery and dining spend. He has a Delta Gold card for his first year free right now for 50% off on his Delta flights and this free check bag. He has the Hilton Aspire card for Hilton Diamond status and for Frunet certificate. And right now he uses the spend as a catch-all for 3x Hilton points, as well as the Marriott Bonvoy Boundless card, which is for a 35K Freedom Award. And he also has a Delta Platinum, which is an authorized user, or maybe not, as an Amex Delta Platinum card for his wife. So the way he wants to go, and it looks like we always have melting cheese here saying the Hilton Honors credit card is so good. They are very good, and that's where he wants to go with this. He wants to do the Amex Platinum, Hilton Honors, and Hilton Surpass cards, since he already has the Aspire. But he also wants to cross-refer his wife too to get the Hilton Honors card, Surpass card, and Aspire card as well for them as well. So he just started his Amex credit card last February, so about a year ago. He's got a 770 credit score, so that is not an issue in terms of applying for cards. Do you have any tips or see any holes in my setup? I am at 524 right now, and Chase is out of the picture at this point. And so let me know if you have any recommendations or for our setup or any tips. And thanks, Dan. Looking forward to seeing the live broadcast. So again, I like to visually see things. So we'll visually put out his cards like this. This is his portfolio, understanding that the Platinum card is actually his wife's card. But he has the Amex Gold card, Hilton Honors Aspire card, Delta SkyMiles Gold, and the Bonvoy Boundless. And so this is what the spending would look like on those setups that he described. Again, all the food spends on the Amex Gold card. He uses the Hilton Aspire card for the benefits as well as a catch-all, and that's kind of his main core setup for spending. And so from this perspective, you can see he has 2 American Express credit cards. And so if he wants to go for the Amex Surpass or the Hilton cards, that's another 2, so that goes to 4 Amex cards. The Platinum, of course, would be a charge card, which wouldn't count toward his credit card limit with Amex, which is typically 5 for most people. And so one of the things I looked at is, so he wants Amex Platinum, he wants Hilton Honors card and Hilton Surpass card, and he wants a crossover for his wife to the Player 2's Hilton credit card ladder. If his credit card limit is 5, he has that 1 Amex slot open after that. And so if we look at the first steps, his goal here, what it seems like, is you want to be travel focused, you want to fly with Delta, and you want to stay with Hilton's. But at the same time, I think there is some argument to say that there are a lot of categories that aren't covered in your setup now. So trying to accomplish both of those may be one way to go. So when you get the Amex Platinum card, that'll be great because it'll be a nice welcome offer, but it'll also cover the airfare category for you on the Amex Platinum at that 5x MR points back. You don't have any gas categories, so having the Hilton Surpass card would be good too. And so that would give you 4x points back on gas on the Hilton Honors program, so that's great. But transit also is a card that's missing, and so that would be another thing to think about on what card we want to put there for that. There are a lot of cards that could fit there that aren't really fitting your setup. So you have things like the Amex Green Card, which you could downgrade to eventually from the Amex Platinum. You have the Wells Fargo Autograph Card. That could work for transit as well. You also have the Chase cards that also cover transit in their travel category. That's another thing to think about too. And so those are some thoughts of what to cover with that particular setup. One of the things I want to mention, though, is you mentioned that your Hilton Honors Aspire card is actually your catch-all credit card for 3x. I would say that there actually is a better catch-all option for this if you're okay with business card, and that's the Blue Business Plus. And the reason for this is because you actually earn 2x points back on all purchases, which doesn't seem like a lot for now, but if you do that 1 to 2 transfer from Amex MRs to Hilton, that's actually a 4x Hilton point equivalent, and even more if you actually do it during transfer bonus period. And so because of that, that is actually what I would recommend using as a catch-all credit card, at least for now. And if you get the Platinum card and you have the Gold card and you have the Blue Business Plus, now you have the Amex trifecta, and now you have a really good core setup to really crank a lot of MR points out, assuming that's what you want to do with that travel-focused setup. Again, if you want to transfer them to those MR points to Delta, you could do so, although that's not the best use of the MR points. That's a possibility. But that's what I would say for that, is to consider getting the Amex Blue Business Plus. And so that's kind of the 2 setups that were presented. And of course, we covered a lot of them in the beginning. We had some in the middle. I want to let you know that I love doing this. And because one of the things that has been most requested on my channel is to keep covering credit card setups, because I think we all learn from it. Not only do I learn from it, but you guys also learn from other people's setups. I want to keep doing this. And so if you'd like me to review your credit card setup, there's many ways for me to do that. Of course, on the monthly live streams, we can do this here, and that's a free option. I've also had people comment on my videos about their setup, and I've also replied to that, and that's also free too. I know that Jeff earlier talked about how there's some things that are missing, and that is important to note because a lot of information is important to make these setups to be the best, but we can't really cover all that sometimes in one comment or one live stream, or sometimes things are missing. And so that's why I'm offering now this credit card review service, which I've actually had for the past 18 months. I just never have publicly advertised it before. But I've gotten to the point now where I really want to be able to help more people specifically with this. And so that's a paid version of what I could do to help you. So imagine doing one of these credit card setup videos, but for 60 minutes or so, I'm doing literally just your setup. And so if you are interested in something like that, I actually revamped my entire website, which is thecreditfrog.com, and I offer these paid personalized consultations. And it's not for everybody, let me just be very clear, but I know I've had a lot of clients from before who've had very complex setups. And for me to go through all of them, it takes a lot of interplay. I mean, it's very important for me to go through the strengths and weaknesses and how to improve it. And the details are really important. So we would definitely get all that information out first and then give you a good strategy and roadmap to go forward with that too. And so if that's something that interests you, that's something that you can look at my website. But again, I want to continue doing these for as long as I can on these monthly live streams. I'll also start introducing some of that into my regular long form videos as well with these credit card setups. And of course, in the earlier part of this video or this live stream, we talked about the credit card challenge, where you present a challenge to me and then I go ahead and build a setup from that criteria. That's also something I want to implement too, if that's something you guys would be interested in. And of course, any feedback from you guys is very important to me as well. So I just want to mention that as well. Sosa says, I love that you love it, boss. I appreciate that. Again, I really just want to make there be a system where I can help as many people as possible with this. And, you know, some people have 3 to 4 credit cards. Some people have 10 to 20. The service that I offer is mostly for people that have 10, 15, 20 cards. And all of my past clients have actually had that range of cards. And the thing about credit cards and the setup is that the more you add to them, it gets exponentially more difficult. And so that's where that really the interplay between each card and how they work together, how they don't work together, that is actually where that paid service comes into play. And so again, check it out if you like to. Nothing that we need to worry about. Again, I'll keep doing this kind of on the live streams as well as the comments if you would like to do that instead. Okay, so it would not be a Stan video without Marriott questions. So the next section is actually on Marriott questions. So let's take a look at those. So Nicopolis, this is a big block of text, by the way, but here we go. Stan, I have a large purchase within the next 4 to 5 months, roughly $6,000 to $8,000. Therefore, I'm in the process of planning to get a sign-up bonus to make use of this abnormal spend. So at this point, I'm looking at either the Marriott Bonvoy Brilliant, starting the Hilton Ladder, or going straight to the Hilton Aspire. I have the Marriott business card, and he's looking to book additional trips for later this year. He wants to know if he should try Hilton properties or go all on Marriott for the Platinum status, the Bonvoy Brilliant specifically. While researching the locations I would like to visit, I noticed the Hilton properties cost between $50 to $150 more than comparable Marriott properties at the same locations. The points booking at these locations are typical of these hotel loyalty programs. Thus, there is nothing to write home about. As for my backstory, I don't think organically I would hit Titanium, and I've never stayed at a Hilton before. I can't get the Ritz card because it's over 524. He's in Amex pop-up federal penitentiary since early 2023. Knowing all this about me and your credit expertise in both the Marriott Hilton programs, what should I do? I hope all is well. You are doing God's work here on the tube. Keep up everything. You are the man. Well, thank you so much, Nicopolis. I know you've mentioned a lot of questions on my channel before, so I appreciate that particular question. I do want to go back very quickly to this, and actually, thank you so much, Matt, for being public about this. I actually did a recent consultation with Matt here on the channel, and he did the one-on-one consult with Stan. It was absolutely worth the money. Such a great experience. Thanks again. I appreciate that so much, Matt. And again, we're going to be in contact, next couple of days as well. Hope you had a good Valentine's Day, and definitely, my clients have all said very positive things. And so, because I've been doing this for a year or two, I've had an ability to make the product even better and better as I move forward. So I really do appreciate that, Matt. Thank you so much. So back to Nicopolis' question. He asked about, should I get the Marriott Bonvoy Brilliant card? So in the setting or in the context that he has been in Amex federal penitentiary, i.e. pop-up jail for the past 2 years, I think you should do, as Uncle Luke would say, which is shoot your shot with a Brilliant. Because there's no reason why you shouldn't do that, because if you're in pop-up jail, you'll know. They'll tell you you're in pop-up jail. You're not going to be actually, you're not going to actually know about, what happens until you apply. You do get the Platinum Elite status on the card. I think if you are going to really stay at Marriott's a lot, this is the starting point, because Platinum Elite status is really something that you need to have at minimum. That's because when you go to places like Marriott's and Westin's with the clubs that have free breakfast, you get them there for free. And then if you have 2 people staying, that's both of you for free. And so that can really add up very quickly, kind of like the Hilton Gold on the Hilton Honors Rewards program. But I think that would be the next step to think about. There is no elevated welcome offer on the Brilliant right now. So that is part of the problem. But if you think you want to get it now, you can shoot your shot and see what's up. Now, you did mention that you're in pop-up jail and you want to know if you want to go to Hilton. Now, the Amex Brilliant and the Amex Hilton cards are clearly all on Amex. So if you're getting pop-up on the Bonvoy Brilliant, should you apply for the pop-up, the Amex cards on the Hilton side? Well, I'm here to say that pop-up jail is actually card specific. So just because you got a pop-up on the Brilliant card doesn't mean you're going to get a pop-up card on the Surpass or the Aspire card. They're different in that situation. And so I would say apply for the one and see what happens. And you can keep applying for the ones until you are not in a pop-up jail for that situation, for that particular card. Of course, the Hilton Auto Surpass card, this is actually a good one for you, because even though there's not an elevated offer now, it does have a $6,000 spend right now. And if you do that, then you actually get to that point where you can spend an additional $9,000 on the card over the calendar year to get a $15,000 FNC on the Hilton side. And it's about February now, so you have a long time in this year to meet that min spend. So if you're having a big purchase right now, this would be a great card to consider. If you're looking at the Aspire card because you want to try out Hilton, or you were in pop-up jail for the other two cards, this card I don't believe will ever have an elevated offer. But if you get this card, you can get an FNC that's annual, of course, plus that Diamond Elite status too. So Anya Roy actually mentions here that Brilliant has a 150K points plus $250 cashback elevate offer. I didn't see that, but maybe I am just behind on the time. So if that is there, that's a very good offer. So I would say I would take that, because the original offer, I believe, is $95,000 for 6K spent in 6 months. But if it's the same min spend for the same time frame, that's a pretty good offer. So I would take that if that was the case, for sure. So that's what I would say between pop-up jail, between the Brilliant and the Hilton cards on Amex. And so hope that answers your question, but that's what I would do in your situation, Nicopoly. Okay, Michael Y was in the chat earlier this part of the live stream, so let's make sure we answer his question. I hope you're still here, but if not, you can always catch on the replay. He asks, "Hey Stan, thanks for another Q&A stream. I have a question about the Marriott Bonvoy Boundless, as I am looking to begin pursuing the Ritz-Carlton card in the next few years. From what's been laid out in your videos, it seems apparent that the process can seem pretty easy to achieve, but on my end, I haven't had a relationship with Chase in my 4 years of credit history. Assuming one is under 524, do you believe having a foundational relationship with Chase, CSP, CFU, CFF, is crucial to being approved for the Marriott Bonvoy Boundless or other co-branded cards from Chase? Love your honest videos, and thanks in advance." And then he lists me all the credit cards he has, which is Discover It's Student, Bank of a Customized Cash Rewards Card, Citi Double Cash, Capital Savers Card, Citi Custom Cash, Capital Metro X, and the US Bar. Okay, so let's take a look at this. So for Chase cards, no, you do not need a foundational relationship with Chase to get their cards, but like all issuers, it's going to help. So you mentioned that you had 4 years of credit history already on your cards, which is great because that's all you really need. When you look at starting out, by the way, you have 2 great cards on your setup, the US Bar and Metro X, so great job with that. Especially, I think, since it sounds like you're on the younger portion, I think this is awesome. You have those 2 cards, so now you have them basically forever, as long as you want to keep them open, as a great combination. So if, for example, you were just starting out and you didn't have any starter Chase credit cards, like a secured or a student, Chase generally likes you to have at least 1 year of credit history with another credit card issuer before they start approving you for cards. That's not your case, because you said you had 4 years of history, so you should be good. So if that's the case for you, I would just apply for it. Just don't worry about it. If you're denied, that's unfortunate, but possible. You could consider opening a checking account with them. So that's what I would say for that particular answer specifically. But this kind of rolls over to our favorite topic with RJ Financial, which is the bank account bonuses, where when you open this account, make sure to get a bank account bonus with that. Right now, there's a really great offer going on. I believe it's at the end of April or something, where you can open up a Chase checking for $300 and direct deposit, a Chase savings with $15K in it for 3 months at $200. But if you do both, you get $900. Excuse me, you get $900. That is like a really great deal. So if you can do those things, that would be great. But even if you just do the Chase total checking one, that's still a good deal too. So that's something to consider if you apply for the boundless, get denied, and then all of a sudden you are in this position that, should I get a higher relationship with Chase? This would be one way to go about doing that. All right, so JP Knowledge says, Stan is a points earning machine. I may be good at redeeming points, but you know the ins and outs of every card. Your service will for sure be worth it to maximize the gains. I appreciate it, JP. I appreciate the vote of confidence, and I would say the same thing for you on the redemption side. I've been very happy with your services as well, so keep up the great work with that. Oh, Michael Yip's here in the house. Excellent. That definitely answers my question. I'll definitely be looking into those. Well, that's awesome. Well, thank you for being here, and I'm so glad that we can answer your question live and make sure that we get everything answered while you are here. Okay, so the next slide is They Hate Me. But before we go in, I think there was a few questions I wanted to cover around. South XEF is here, actually. So, hey, Stan, thanks for responding to my question. I use these are gift cards that I get 5 times my in cash from Staples for groceries. That's great. I mean, if you can do that, that's awesome. Okay, So the next question comes from They Hate Me, and hopefully they don't hate you because I don't hate you. I want to actually, I loved your comments. So actually, I love you. So change your name to I love you and then message me. That'll be great. Okay. So you have a Marriott card, Amex Brilliant, and a CSR. Which are you using for a cash stay at a Marriott property and why? And this is an excellent, excellent question. And I want to also publicly acknowledge JP Knowledge for this because he's the one who turned me on to this strategy because before I was using my Marriott cards for all my Marriott purchases. So the crux of the question is, do you earn 6x on Marriott or do you earn 3x UR points on travel? And so for me, I always recommend to use the Chase Sapphire Reserve or a 3x UR point equivalent card on travel. For me personally, it's the 3x on travel from the Inc. Preferred. And even though it is less, it's actually better because if you think about cent per point and the average cent per point, you're actually getting more of a value on the 3x UR points too. So, and then I think I know the answer to this. As a follow-up, do you use the Brilliant for anything other than the dining credit? Okay, good. So I'm going to get back to that. So the next thing is going to be looking at why that's the case. So the reason why I say that, and the reason why I like JP's strategy so much, is that the Marriott Bonvoy program is a free night award play, not a points play. It's really hard to get Marriott points unless you're doing welcome offers, and there's only so many you can really do. Of course, you can always do the Chase thing with the Bonvoy Boundless or Bonvoy Bountiful every 24 months, but that's not a great system to use. It really is getting those main cards that generate those annual free night awards and then holding them for as long as possible to keep generating those free night certificates. Understanding that Marriott is devaluing their properties all the time. And so now it's becoming increasingly harder to use them for just that 85K or 35K limit. So you have to make sure you have some points available for the 15K top up you may have to do on your redemptions as well. And so for that reason, if I need more Marriott points and I see in my account that I'm under 15,000 points, I will swap in the Ritz-Carlton card or the Marriott Bonvoy Brilliant card to pay for my Marriott stays to get that general, just more points so I get at least enough so I can have a top-up option for my free night certificates if I need to do so. That's kind of the way I've been doing it. It's been working out very well for me. UR points are extremely valuable, so I would rather get that than I get the Bonvoy points, unless for this certain specific situation. So QC, going back to your question, do I use the Brilliant for anything other than the dining credit? And the answer is no. I don't use it for anything else. It stays in my house. I don't use it. And the reason for that is because it doesn't really do anything for me in terms of the multipliers. It's got a 6x, 3x, 2x multiplier system. The Bonvoy Business, by the way, has a 6x, 4x, 2x system. And so it's actually better if you want to use a Marriott card for spending. The Bonvoy Business is better. Of course, we have the Bonvoy Bountiful from Chase and the Bonvoy Bevy from Amex, but those are really crappy cards. I don't recommend them just in general, although they do cover those everyday categories. I would rather you put that on like a Hilton card instead. That's just my 2 cents on that. If they didn't have that dining credit, I wouldn't ever take out this card out of my wallet or out of my, house. Unfortunately, they do, so I have to. So every month, $25 go on to the card, then it goes right back into my house, and we're done with that. So hopefully answer the question about the Marriott cash stays. But yes, I definitely would use the Chase card with the Euro points over the Marriott card. The next one comes from Rodrigo. Rodrigo asks, do you ever accumulate enough Marriott points for a worthwhile redemption? These days, I feel like any one-night booking with Marriott uses up a lot of your points. And that's very true because when you look at the devaluations happening, it's harder to use points with Marriott, which is why I said already that it's a free night award play, not a points play. And so when I did my honeymoon redemption, I did save up a ton of points for that, but that was over the course of several years with multiple welcome offers. I would never do that again because it just takes too long. So now at this point, my idea is to just get the cards that get you those annual FN free night awards and just use that and just only have some top-up option. And of course you have you have built points that go to Marriott, you have Amex points that go to Marriott, not the best redemption option, but if you got to transfer like 2,000 or 3,000 points for a top-up, like that's not the end of the world. So I would do that personally, but I would never pay for Marriott points, and I would only just really get Marriott points through welcome offers like that. Welcome offer that Saranya actually said a little while ago. 150K on Bonvoy Brilliant card is fantastic, and if you add a cashback option to that too, or a statement credit, also really good. Filmo says, I like to have 30K Marriott points at all times to cover a weekend of top-ups. Otherwise, gives me the transferable points. And I'm so glad you and I are on the same page, Filmo, because that's exactly what I do too. I think we just need to know the rewards program the best, and Marriott points are not the way to go with the Marriott Bonvoy program. It is really through those free night certificates. Oh, Rodrigo's here in the house. Rodrigo, thank you for asking your question, and thank you for being here. And I'm glad we can answer your question live for you on this live stream. Awesome. Shorty Day. I don't know if that's your name said right, but hopefully I didn't butcher it. Would you use your tap to pay on US Bar at Marriott to use your real-time rewards while also earning 4.5x? Yes, I think I could do that as well. I don't think there's a problem with doing that. I would say that I already use my US Bar for almost everything, and so I want to earn some UR points, and so that's why I've decided to relegate that to my Chase UR point card instead. But I certainly could use the tap to pay on US Bar on my Apple Pay to get that. Sometimes I've noticed at some Marriotts the tap to pay option doesn't work on their credit card readers because they're old or they just not working. So I want to make sure that I have a backup option. Now the backup option for me would be the US Bank Smartly card at 4% cashback, but I tried to earn transferable currencies from my travel. It's nothing like right or wrong or what's better or what's worse. That's how I've systematically did it for myself. Scott C says, I get Marriott points from gambling through BetMGM. Okay, well, as long as you gamble responsibly, that's okay. Okay. Right. Monday asks, for primary domestic travel, does it make sense to book cash stays with Hilton or Marriott with VentureX and then erase purchase for 1 cent per point, especially if cent per point with hotel is under 1? I think so. I think that if you want to use your points that way, that would be one way to go. I would say that if you would like to use the VentureX Capital One miles for better redemptions, first and international business class flights are better. Now, you may not want to do that. So points you use are better than points you don't use because a point is only valued at what you use it for. So if that's the way you want to redeem and the only way you can, then I say I would go for it. All right. Kirby G's in the house, a little late to the stream, but excited to catch up. Thank you so much. Kirby, I did answer your question earlier in the stream, so maybe you want to go back and check it on the replay. That would be awesome. Michael Yip says the FNCs definitely make the Marriott the way to go. Yep, absolutely, which is why I have these videos out here for the Marriott strategy to get these cards. There are multiple ways. The ones that I portray in these two videos are not the only ways to do it. There are so many different ways to do it, and that's why it's a fun thing for me to figure out what's the best strategy for you to do this if you want to be part of the Marriott program. And so I've had a lot of my consultation clients are Marriott fans too. And I think a part of that is because they really resonate with the strategy that I put out here in terms of getting these cards for those free night certificates. Monday also replies, yeah, unfortunately, international travel isn't in the cards for the near future with a baby on the way. Congratulations, by the way. That's awesome. Appreciate the answer. Any word if the $95 Amex Bonvoy is still around? Last I checked about 2 weeks ago, I called in to the customer service. Yes, that is still around and still an option to downgrade from one of your Amex cards, provided you've had it for at least 12 months. My name Jim says, I'm going to be above Chase 524 until April 2026. Any gardening strategies or suggestions for the long haul? Would like to get below 524 since I live next to a strong Southwest hub. My strategy for gardening is using Amex business cards, especially if you already have one personal Amex card already. The remainder of your Amex business cards will all be soft pulls and they will not add to your credit card report. And so that's a great way to continue to capitalize on welcome offers, but still not have a problem in terms of adding to your Chase 524 status. At the same time, too, these are higher min spend cards, and so they will take you maybe longer to do, especially if you get to the Amex Business Gold and Business Platinum sides where you have 20K and 15K spend on those cards, and that can just be a lot. So certainly a lot of points to be had, but those cards, again, don't add to your report, and so that is like a phenomenal way to garden, at least for you in the span of, looks like, a little more than 10 months. Stephen Vani here, big fan of the channel. Good to see you, buddy. Hey, Stan, feels like welcome bonuses have been weak across carriers. Do you think elevated ink bonuses will come soon, or Marriott 5 free nights? I don't know if they'll come soon or not. I think there is a shrinkage of the credit card industry in terms of value. There's legislation being put out right now about capping credit card interest rates, at least temporarily. So you have to look at that. Obviously, the ink train has been kind of dealt with by Chase because of what has happened in the past. And so I don't know if there's going to be those specific offers. I would imagine the ink offers are probably not going to happen for a while, if at all. The 5 free nights, I think that's still going to be there because I recently saw an IHG 5 free night offer that was targeted. What happened was I booked an IHG property through points. And at the end of the screen, actually it told me, oh, you can apply for the IHG Premier card for the 5-night free offer. And so that wasn't advertised on like that main website, but as a booking bonus, you could do that. And so I think they will still offer the 5 free night offer on the Boundless card, but I don't know for sure. JP Dollars comes in and says, hit the like button. I appreciate that so much, JP. Yes, it's been a really great live stream, and I'm so pumped that we got to go through so many credit card strategies. I know it's a lot of information all at once, but it is really one of my passions to really look at what you've got going on and to really make your strategy the best it can possibly be. So definitely hit the like button. I'll put that screen here as well. So please hit the like button if you're getting value. Thank you, JP. Really appreciate that. And then say, Joe Redlet say, what would you say is the best catch-all cashback card? The best one is the one you could use. But I think if you could put the 100K in US Bank, that 4% cashback on the Smartly card is the best one. If you can't do that, you have that Robinhood Gold card, although it has that $50 annual Robinhood membership fee situation going on. So that's another thing. I would say that would be an option. Honestly, if you were just looking at cashback, I'm a big fan of the Fidelity Rewards Visa. 2% cashback, no annual fee, no FTFs. I think that's a very simple card and you can get it done. And I think I would use that if I can't do the other two that were already talked about. Arnold Alley's in the house. Thank you so much. I know you commented on my videos a little while back, and thank you for that. Late to the live stream, you answered my question a few days ago about having the business already and how to proceed with having that card. Thanks again. You're welcome. Again, I'm happy to answer questions on my comments on my videos. I really aim for net inbox 0. So if you have a question, just leave a comment, and I'm happy to answer for you. And Arnold, I'm happy that we were able to answer your question too. Oh, look, Michael Yip agrees. If you travel, Fidelity Visa. Perfect. You and I are on the same wavelength. That's super cool. So thanks for suggesting that, but that would be me for sure. Rodrigo Mendez asks, has anyone heard if IHG lets you bypass 524 during an elevated offer period? I would say that the answer is maybe. So let's go ahead and think about that, because I know that there are some co-brand cards that make you bypass. You won't know until you try, so you have to risk it for the biscuit, as my buddy, Uncle Luke, says. And so if you can risk a hard pull, give it a shot. I wouldn't do it personally because I value my hard pulls, but if you want to, you can shoot your shot, see what happens. Okay. QC Manson said, are you waiting for a 5-night offer from the Boundless this year before you apply for it to complete your 4 F&A strategy? I am looking forward to it. Right now, I am waiting until my 24-month clock ends, which is going to be around June of 2025. That also is going to be around the time I may or may not apply for a mortgage, so we have to think of that too. Of course, I don't want to do that if I'm applying for a mortgage, and so I'm looking at it, but I'm not like really looking at it. At that point, I'm just trying to figure out from my personal life with the mortgage situation, when should I apply for my new card? And that may not be for a while. David Gomez here, just want to show some love. Nice video. Thank you so much. Okay, so we have a lot of questions to go through some more. Not that many, but this is the last set of questions here, which is about future redemptions. And so I know Andrew Beach was here in the house already, so we'll talk about his question now. Can you share how, if at all, your credit card strategy has changed after your next major redemption? I'd be curious to know if you would use a service to book again, or if you would DIY your redemptions. So first things first, I would say that it has changed since my last redemption. And so what he's referring to is my honeymoon trip, where if you haven't checked out this video already, please do. It helps you figure out like what I did, where I redeemed 1.5 million points. That was broken down to, I believe it was around 700,000 Amex points, 500,000 of Marriott points, and like 200-ish thousand of IHG points. And so that was the trip I redeemed. It was a beautiful trip. I loved it, and my wife loved it. And so I really liked that, redemption strategy. We did use a booking service through JP Knowledge, which was fantastic, by the way. He does an excellent job with that booking strategy. And so I really can't recommend that enough. But the question was, has my strategy changed? And so the answer is yes, it has changed in the sense that I'm now more towards cash back than anything else. That's because I don't right now have an idea of where I want to go next. And like I mentioned throughout this live stream, I have 400K MRs, 400K URs of points in the bank already, plus ones for my wife as well. She has 400K as well. So we have plenty of points to redeem for international first and business class travel. We don't need any more points at the moment. So right now we're really doing more focusing on cashback to get that immediate value. So that answers that question. The second question is, I noticed that my setup is an organic shift to a hybrid setup. So I have point earning cards. Like we mentioned before, I do use my Inc. Preferred to book my Marriott stays for 3x your points back, but it's not something I'm really focusing on. I've really moved towards cashback, and that's been more of an organic shift. Not trying to do it, but I just noticed that there's a lot more opportunities right now with cashback. As you'll know, I have a lot of cashback credit cards or cashback equivalent cards that can actually get 4%, 4.5%, 5%, and 5.25% cashback on all purchases. And that's incredible for myself. And I'm very, I'm happy that I'm able to do that. Not everyone can really do that necessarily, but because I'm in that position to do that, that's what I'm focusing on, because I don't have to worry about transferable currencies. I don't have to worry about redeeming for the right, redemption. I don't have to worry about the BS about the devaluations. I can just use those cash back, get the cash back, and be done. And I like that because I want to spend time doing other things. But yes, I would absolutely use a booking service again because it saved me so much time. One of my deficiencies, and you all know this, is that I am not the best at point redemptions. I know enough to get by, and I know enough to do some basic stuff, but to get those really, really good redemptions, to really search on points.me or Seats.aero or all the other booking services, it's just something that I'm just not good at. And of course, I bought JP Knowledge's course to learn, and I'm working through it, but I'll never be as good as someone as JP Knowledge. And so what I recommend is his actual course. And so his course is taken, it's good, by the way. I've been taking this course. It's been really great, but he offers a booking service too. And that's JP Knowledge, in his first class seat as usual. So I highly recommend you checking out his website just to see if it's worth it for you. It's not for everybody, but again, it's something that if you really want to save time on those redemptions, I would highly recommend his channel, because he is a guy that walks the walk, he talks the talk, and he does this stuff all the time. And so if you want to really save time and get the best thing, I would 100% recommend that service. Luke is still here. Luke, good to see you, buddy. JP is the man. The course pays for itself. Absolutely. And so awesome. Again, answer the question. I would just go to JP. I'd also say, by the way, Luke is also a great resource on this particular topic as well. He also walks the walk, and he also talks the talk. He does so many redemptions, both domestic and international. And so I don't know if he actually does a paid service or not, but his videos are really spot on in terms of point redemptions and that kind of value. So I go to him, I go to JP Knowledge for that stuff. But for myself, my focus is mostly on credit card strategies and how to really maneuver your credit card setup to get the most earnings as possible so that you're set to make those redemptions. And that's when we move on to other creators like JP Knowledge and Luke, and they have those fantastic videos on that particular topic. Okay, so the last question does come from Uncle Luke, so I'm glad you're here for this. Stan, I know you really enjoyed your first big international redemption, which was the honeymoon trip we talked about earlier. I also know you are a very busy, focused dude. What's the plan for future international stuff? One big one a year, or shorter, quick stuff, or still evaluating? The short answer is I'm still evaluating, but I would love to do one long big trip per year. That's really what the goal for my wife and I is going to be. Because, while we would like to go internationally a bunch of times, that's just not something that we want to do all the time. It's just kind of hard for us to do just from our personal lives. So we would love to do one big trip per year. That's the sequence, and that's the kind of frequency we plan on doing this. So a big trip for us is going to be something over either pond, either the Atlantic or over the Pacific. So like Europe, Middle East, Africa, or Asia. We go to Hawaii sometimes. Doesn't really count. That's more of a domestic trip, even though it is technically over a pond. And we're actually going to Hawaii. This year, we're already planning on going to Hawaii. That's all on points, plus the companion pass, so that's set. We're also going to Montreal, all on points, also on companion pass as well. So, so we actually have some plans to do some international stuff like Canada, but that's not like the point. Canada's kind of the same, in my opinion, but Does it count? I don't know. But really, we're looking at one big trip per year. Again, we talked about the points that we have in our accounts already, and that is set. So as soon as we make the decision to pull the trigger, I'm going to call JP Knowledge and say, JP Knowledge, this is my plan, and we're going to do it. And that's exactly what our plan is going to be for that. So hope that's your question. That actually ends the slideshow. I was actually concerned I wouldn't get through all slides. There were 76 slides in the slide deck, which is the most I've ever had. And so that's why I had to cap the community questions at a certain point a couple days ago. But I'm glad that we got through it. So we have about 10 minutes left for questions. I'm going to remove this from the stage so you can see my beautiful face here. We have Joe Redlitz that says, thanks for the cashback recommendations. Been on the Robinhood waitlist since day one, but they play shady games. Never told customers that it wasn't available in yet. You're still waiting for this card? Oh my God. Like, this is like why I don't trust some fintechs, because like they say things they promise. My personal experience with fintechs is they overpromise and underdeliver, and it should be reversed. And so again, they have a great product, but if you can't use the product, then it's useless. So I'm sorry you had that particular experience, but that's kind of where we're at. JP Knowledge saying, thanks you so much, Stan. You're awesome. Of course, JP. I mean, I like to give credit where credit is due. And because I got so much value from your services, I want to make sure that everybody knows about it. Juan Exposito says, Capital One is really picky. What's the best position to apply for Venture X? If I were to go back in time myself, I would apply for Venture X earlier rather than later. Now, for me, it's different because I already had a lot of cards by the time it was released, so it wasn't really a thing for me. I already was way past that level. But if you have like 4 to 5 cards that in your setup at this point, I would think about getting a Capital and Venture X card soon, because there seem to be a lot more data points than not where you apply for the Capital One Venture X card and then you get denied because you have too many cards. And that's not the quoted reason, but I think that's a reason to consider. So that's what I would say. Ciaran Patarot says, chat, any tips on the most valuable point transfer from Capital One? I like Venture X for the lounges because I live in DC, but I get much better redemption consistently with your and MR. I would look at transferable point currencies that are equivalent to the other two programs. And I can't think of a lot off the top of my head. I know Avios is probably one of them. And then that's all I can tell you definitively. Everything else, I'm not entirely sure. Michael Yip, do you think there's a reason to get the Ritz if most of the benefits already overlap with a card like the Venture X? I think that if you want the Ritz and the Venture X, I think that's fine. It's the same combination as you would see with the Sapphire Reserve and the Venture X. What you're looking for in the Ritz-Carlton card is that Sapphire Lounge access, because the Venture X doesn't give you that, but the Ritz-Carlton card doesn't give you Capital One lounge access. So if you want access to both sets of lounges, having both cards is fine. What I wouldn't do is have a Chase Sapphire Reserve card and a Ritz-Carlton card at the same time, because that's double counting. I'd rather you choose one or the other and then pick that one. The Chase Sapphire Reserve has the best 1.5x or 50% redemption multiplier boost, which is really good for families, for domestic travel, because you can really get that flat 1.5 cents per point on those your points on like economy class tickets. So I would go towards that more if you're in that situation. But if you're not, the Ritz-Carlton's a no-brainer in my opinion. All right, so MTB Sean says, Venture X, Saver, Custom Cash, and Hilton Honors are a good setup. So if I look at this completely here, so Saver, Venture X, Capital One Duo covered, Custom Cash covers your specialty setup. Saver is going to be also specialty, Venture X catch-all. Hilton Honors kind of more of a, it's not a benefits, but it's more for just Hilton points. Yeah, I think that's fine. I think it's nice you have the Custom Cash because you can cover any of those categories that are not covered on the other two cards in the Capital One Duo, namely gas is one of them. So that can be covered at a 5% category. Personally, I use Custom Cash myself for fitness memberships because we have a pretty hefty fitness bill, and I should probably go more, but that's okay. But yeah, I mean, that's a good card to have too. And I think that's a great start. The deficiencies here, let's see. I think travel and transit, well, transit's not covered, but travel is covered if you book with the Capital One portal. I would say a travel transit card would be helpful. Something like a Chase Sapphire, like Reserve, Inc. Preferred is something helpful for that. Those are a little bit higher annual fee cards, but that would be one way to cover it. Wells Fargo Autograph, another no annual fee, great card to cover that category too. Okay. Michael Gibbs says, would agree with the 4 to 5 card for the Venture X. I got it as my 7th card and had a Saver before applying. Okay. Great. Yeah, absolutely. Melting Cheese says, what hotel card paired great with VentureX and Saver card? It's really the hotel you want to stay at. I think if I were to be you, and I only had a VentureX and Saver one, and I were to pick one hotel card that would give me the most benefit of all the hotel cards, I personally would pick the Hilton Surpass card. And the reason for that is because of the value I get from Hilton properties. They're not as expensive as Marriott, but they're expensive enough. And they also give you that Hilton Gold status for that $25 food and beverage credit for two people, which is fantastic. And that's going to get you a lot of value. The Hilton credit too, the 50, I think it's 50, 60, I think it's 50, yeah, $50 hotel credit quarterly on that will help incentivize me to also stay at Hilton's too, so I can use that credit every quarter as well. So that way I have one hotel system. I only stay at one hotel area, so I don't have to spread my hotel stays too thin. And then I still have a great core credit card set up to do most of my spending on. So that's what I would do if I were in your situation, to have one card for that. Now, if you don't stay at Hilton's, then that card is out, obviously. So it's really, the answer is, what hotel program do you actually stay at? Rodrigo Mendez asks, do you think Bilt will survive? I feel like they're on the verge of collapsing. Well, the verge of collapsing is not what I would say, because they still have 2 years of runway with Wells Fargo. But I think they're trying to figure out their audience. I think that's their biggest problem right now, is the who are we trying to serve question. Because I don't know about you guys, but as you guys know, there's a lot of people that I know in my personal life that they have a Chase Sapphire Preferred and they use that card for everything. And the question is, well, why do they do that? Well, they do that because the Chase marketing machine is so good that they convince people that the Chase Sapphire Preferred is like the best card since sliced bread. And so people who don't know any better just use a Chase Sapphire Preferred for that, just for everything. And we all know in this live stream that that's a stupid idea. But a lot of people who don't know, they just don't know. And so I think Bilt wants to be like the Chase Sapphire Preferred, where they're the card that everyone uses for everything. But the problem with that is that their marketing isn't to the level of Chase Sapphire Preferred, because they market it to people like us who are credit card enthusiasts and maximizers that really take advantage of as much things as we possibly can based on the offerings that are given. And so it's not like you go out on the street and you're like, do you want to get a Bilt card? And they'll be like, what's that, right? If you say, do you want to get a Chase Sapphire Preferred card, they'll know what that is already. So I think it's more of a marketing problem than it is anything else. That's what I would say for the Bilt card. And I think they have some ways to figure this out. I'm not obviously a business person, but they have all the data of their financials and who they're serving and who's their best customers. And so I think there's a lot of thought to that, but that's what my 2 cents on that topic. Globe Traveler Extraordinaire says, do you think we are going to see big American Airlines evaluation with the new leadership team? American miles are the only U.S. airline currency that hasn't already been dramatically devalued. I don't know. I don't fly American. I don't deal with American, but I know that their miles are very valuable, and the fact that they're a one world partner with Alaska makes them a really good program, and so I hope not, but we'll have to see. All right. Thanks, Dan, from Filmo. So much info. I always have to watch your lives twice. Yeah, I recommend that, by the way, because I'd like to go slower, but then we wouldn't finish on time. So I have to go a little bit fast. And so sometimes I gloss over a few things. And so if you listen to it and can pause through the video, for example, you're a college kid and you're in class, I found that to be very helpful too. So that would be something that I would recommend if it's not making sense on the first go around. Also, I tend to talk very fast just in general. I'm trying to slow it down a little more, but I get so excited when I talk about credit cards. It's something I can't help myself. But yeah, I appreciate that, Filmo. Philip Stuckey says, I have an upgrade offer for the Amex Platinum from the green. Does anyone know if auth users get Hilton status too? The for the Amex Platinum. Yes, so Amex Platinum authorized users do get Hilton status too. Just remember, it costs you $195 per year extra to do that. So that's a trade-off that you have to think about for yourself if it's worth it for you. Shorty Day also says, I'm sorry, this name is just very hard for me to say. Would you agree, if you are a domestic traveler, that the bias is to 4% smartly and to points if you are an international traveler? Important to factor in how you can buy points on sale with cashback. I think that's a good first step to look at it. I think that I think the prototypical person for points and miles is Luke's from Luke Points and Miles. The things that he does and the excitement he gets from traveling to a new destination on first or business class is unparalleled. I think if you are that kind of person that gets so much joy from doing that, you are a points person, and that's okay, right? And if you're someone like myself, which is more domestic, I don't derive as much enjoyment from traveling nationally, although it is a very cool thing. I personally prefer more the cashback for the simplicity because, as you all know, simplicity is a big factor in my life. I try to make things simple because when I was younger, things were super simple. And then, as you move up in age and in life, complexity seems to find you. And I try to avoid it, but it always finds you in certain ways. And so I'm always trying to figure out ways to make my life less complicated. And I know a lot of you around my age range in the late 30s, early 40s can understand that. Even some of you guys that are older than myself can understand that life becomes way more complex as life goes on. So if I can save some in the credit card space, I would do that. That's a trade-off that's worth it to me. Some people want to do the work and put in the work, and that's okay too, especially if you're younger. That's fine. It depends on what you're looking for, honestly. Andrew Beach says, I'm bummed that my Chase Freedom Flex 10% grocery expiring is this year. That's too bad. That's a great welcome offer, by the way. Other than the Amex Golden Saver one, if I wanted a Visa card, which one would you recommend for that grocery spend on a Visa card? That is hard. I don't have a good answer for you on the top of head for a Visa card for groceries other than the U.S. Bank Smartly at 4%, the U.S. Bank Altitude Reserve, which is a 4.5% equivalent. I would say if you want to use that PayPal debit MasterCard, that's something to consider because that's a great card to use for that, especially if you spend under $1,000 per month in groceries. It's not a Visa card, but again, that would be one way to go. All right. Thank you. David William with the save. Obviously. I just forgot about that card. AAA Daily Advantage card. You're absolutely right, David. That is a great card to use for that situation where you get 5% cash back on groceries for up to $10,000 in purchases per year. That's about like a little more than $1,000 per month in groceries. So that's a great card. Also, I believe works at Costco. I can't remember. I think there's a caveat for no Target, no Walmart. I think it worked at Costco, though. I'm not sure. I think they also have a wholesale club category on that card, too. So that may be what I'm thinking about. But that's pretty amazing. All right. And so we also have that. Victoria comes in and says, great job on this live. Thank you so much, Victoria. I appreciate that. Are there any other questions? I have one more here. Good place to redeem my 550K Marriott certificates in the Caribbean or Central America? I don't know the answer to that, but I would say any place that gives you a deal that's less 50K per night would be the way to go from my perspective. So it looks like the questions are all done here, and we're kind of wrapping up here on a little more than 2 hours. So we'll kind of wrap it up at this point. Again, I really appreciate you guys coming in for this live stream. I hope you guys learned a ton. I definitely learned a lot from you guys from your credit card setups. Again, if you do want any personalized credit card advice, my credit card advice website is open. I want to make sure that I get all the details for you if you want to do this service. Of course, I'll continue to answer your questions on these live streams as well as all the comments on my videos. But again, I sincerely thank you for being here. And if you do me a quick favor, if before you go, just hit the like button if you're getting value before you leave. That would mean so much to me if you did that. Again, I'm always open to any kind of suggestions, feedback, or anything that I can make this channel better for you guys. So send me a message from my website or send me an email from stan@thecreditfraud.com or to that email address, I should say. And I will definitely make sure that your opinions are heard and implemented on my particular channel. So thanks again, everyone. Hope you have a great rest of your Saturday. And again, I'll see you guys in the next video.